Hello everyone, welcome to What If Quirkless Deku got mentored by Almight and made Harem with Momo, Melissa and Todoroki Part 1. Before we start, please go support Oscar Xperia 5991 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Deku is a male. Many will question him, others will underestimate him, but he knows he made the right choice. Chapter 1: The Beginning of a Hero. Can someone without a quirk be a hero? It was the question that started it all. That question was asked by that green-haired boy, a boy named Izuku Midoriya, who was now on the roof of some building in the city. In front of him was the number one hero, his idol, the symbol of peace, Almight. Almight, what? No quirk? Was all he could think before his time limit ran out, and in a smokescreen his true appearance was revealed. Izuku, an imposter. Incredulous at what he saw, you're too thin. Tashinori, I am Almight. Spitting blood. Izuku, liar. Tashinori, it's the truth. Sitting on the floor 5 years ago, I faced a villain who left me with this wound, lifting his shirt a little to show his wound. That battle left me with the destruction of several organs, and my respiratory system is in bad condition covering his wound. This is the result of multiple surgeries. Currently I can only be Almight for 3 hours a day. Izuku was in shock by everything he heard and saw. That hero he considered invincible, so unattainable, now looked so human, and yet his admiration for him was not affected. On the contrary, knowing that even with such an injury and with such limited time, he continued to protect people only increased it. And that is why the answer he was waiting for took on much more importance. Tashinori, now that you know, try not to say any of this on the internet, please. Standing up and getting a little closer to Izuku and answering your question. Tell me something first, are you quirkless? Izuku, why yes, lowering his head out of pure reflex, waiting for the blow they always gave him. Tashinori, confused by such a reaction, hey, are you okay? Why are you bowing your head, young man? Izuku, I'm sorry, it's just that in my high school every time someone finds out they insult me or hit me. Tashinori, what? That's not right. Angry, where are your teachers when that happens? Izuku, they just stand there watching. Tashinori, and your parents? Have you told them what they do to you? Izuku, shaking his head, my mom is very busy working to support us, since my dad's staying silent for a few seconds. Tashinori, I see, he must have abandoned them just because of that ridiculous excuse that his son is quirkless. Izuku, he died, making Tashinori surprised. He died 9 years ago in a plane crash. He was only 5 years old, so there are many things that I don't remember. Raising his head, looking Tashinori directly in the eyes, that's why I want to be a hero. I know that preventing a plane from falling is something I'll never be able to do, but at least I want to save the people within my reach and be that hero that's starting to shed small tears. I've always wanted to save me. To say that Tashinori no, that Almight himself was impressed by the will and determination of that boy in front of him, would be an understatement. It is for that very reason that he had to think very carefully about the answer to the question that was asked of him just a few minutes ago, and after taking a breath he began to speak. Tashinori, I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm also sorry for thinking badly of your father, and answering your question about whether someone without a quirk can be a hero. The answer is and about to give him a negative answer, but before making such a mistake a thought came to his mind. What am I doing? I was about to become a big hypocrite. After all, I was once a quirkless too. Izuku, and no, can you? Tashinori, no. Moving his hands back and forth, I mean, yes. Izuku, very confused, what? Tashinori, calming down and taking a breath, listen, what I want to tell you is that it is not a simple answer, but it is true that quirks are the basis of the actions of heroes, so being one without it is an extremely difficult goal. Izuku, I knew it, clenching his fists, I guess I should give up, looking down. Tashinori, but not impossible. Gaining Izuku's attention, the best examples I can give you are Eraserhead and Sir Night Eye. I didn't think it would be so hard to say his name, although their quirks give them a certain advantage when it comes to doing their job. They depend entirely on their physical ability to fight the villains. Izuku, does that mean I? Hope had returned to Izuku's eyes, and he waited patiently for All Might's response, which he was unable to do as a huge explosion was heard a few blocks away. the fire was beginning to spread through nearby buildings, and despite the fact that All Might had finished his time limit for the day, his decades of experience made him run towards danger. Izuku for his part was confused. He didn't know what to do, he was scared, but something inside him urged him to follow his idol, and that's why he started following him, and that was until he could see a large crowd of people at the entrance of a small alley which the heroes prevented anyone from entering. Despite their efforts, everything was useless. The villain who attacked the place was the same one who had recently tried to take control of Izuku's body. If it weren't for the intervention of All Might, both felt really bad about what was happening. All Might for not having realized that the bottle where he imprisoned him had fallen from his pants, as Izuku felt guilty for having distracted All Might from his work, but both could only look behind the people helpless before the situation, if it weren't for something that Izuku saw. Izuku's body simply reacted and ran away without caring about the warnings of the people and the other heroes of the place. Both the villain of Baba and Bakugo had noticed Izuku's presence, and before launching an attack that could kill him, he threw his backpack at the villain's face, and one of his notebooks had hit one of that villain's eyes, slightly releasing Bakugo, something that Izuku would not waste. Bakugo, why? Why are you here? A damn Quirkless can't do anything, causing everyone in the crowd to notice. Izuku tried to free Bakugo while remembering all the mistreatment he had done to him, all the humiliations and mockery directed towards him. Several thoughts flooded his head, such as, "You better give up, it's my fault, why are you trying to go to the same academy as me, huh? Heroes are amazing, that's my goal, I want to save people." That and 1,000 more thoughts crossed his head, but only one sentence came out of his mouth. All Might, surprised, pathetic, holding his wound as his muscles grew in size. "I'm really pathetic. Slime villain, recovering from the punch in the eye, damn kid. You're just a useless container." Throwing a powerful punch at him, die. All Might, appearing on the spot, receiving the blow a centimeter from hitting Izuku. "No matter if the whole place is being consumed by flames, I will not allow you to hurt these villain children." Holding Izuku in Bakugo's arms with his left hand, after all spitting large amounts of blood while preparing his attack. Professionals always put their lives at stake. Detroit Smash. And with that shout, All Might threw his fist towards the villain. The force exerted by the air pressure was so much that not only was the villain scattered throughout the alley, but the weather itself was affected, because some clouds were attracted to the place and causing it to start raining. Something that helped the flames of the nearby buildings and shops begin to go out. Civilians, time has changed as if nothing happened with just their physical strength. It's amazing, so this is the true strength of All Might. All Might, seeing Izuku slowly getting up while shaking, "Young man, you are incredible, you reacted before anyone else, including me," looking at the sky with a slight smile. "Teacher, I think I found it," he thought with joy, but stopped when he heard a scream. "Death Arms, what were you thinking, idiot?" Scolding Izuku. "Empty lady, coming at you like that could have made our job harder." "Kamui Woods, you were just in the way, especially since you're Quirkless." After the scolding of the professional heroes and the reporters were broadcasting the whole matter, the civilians began to laugh and murmur. You didn't have to have a mind-reading quirk to know what they were thinking. At that moment everyone seemed to be against Izuku, but fortunately for him it wasn't like that. There was someone who raised their voice and everyone fell silent. "All Might, shut up. What are you doing? This young man deserves our applause, not your criticism." "Death Arms, but he got in the way of our work." "All Might, what job? Standing by and watching that villain drowning a student?" "Kamui Woods, none of our quirks were favorable to face the villain." "All Might, so what? Will they allow the villains to endanger civilians just because they don't have the advantage?" "Empty lady, well no, but what did this kid do? He put his life in danger to gain what, a measly second." "Kamui Woods, what I wanted to do was impossible. Without a quirk I couldn't do anything." "Death Arms, what he wanted to do was reckless. He just went against that villain to die." "Empty lady, what I wanted to do was useless. You were about to arrive." Izuku, listening to everything, doing nothing but lowering his head. "They're right, All Might was here, I could have died and left my mom alone. It was impossible, it was reckless, it was useless." Almight, that's not true. Putting his hand on Izuku's shoulder, who raised his head to look at him, it must have been impossible. It might have been reckless, but it wasn't entirely useless. If this young man hadn't risked his life and delayed that villain for a second, I wouldn't have arrived in time, and if I had, his family would be crying. At such words, everyone was in shock, not knowing what else to say. All the cameras were broadcasting that moment. Unfortunately for Almight, his extra time was about to end, and he had to get out of that place if he didn't want his secret to be discovered. And even though he still wanted to say many things to Izuku, he had to do something first. Almight, I have to go now. I'll send someone to pick up that villain and take him to the police department. But before that, I'll just say that this young man was a better hero than any of the ones present here, including me, moving away from Izuku only to take a big leap and get out of the sight of the civilians and the cameras. After that event, people left Izuku alone, and after doing a small medical checkup they let him go. No hero or civilian dared to say anything to the boy that Almight defended in that way. The sun was already setting, and while Izuku walked back to the apartment where he lives with his mother, he was thoughtful. And the reason was that although Almight said all those things, in the end he never answered his question. And before he could continue rambling in his thoughts, Bakugo appeared running behind him. Residential area. Bakugo, damn useless. Angry, I never wanted your help. I didn't need it, and much less from a Quirkless, from a useless, from a Deku. Turning around and walking away. Izuku, watching him walk away, I wonder when did he change so much? Continuing on his way, Almight was very kind to say those words, but in the end he didn't answer my question. He gave me the examples of Eraserhead and his former partner, but they still have a quirk. I guess I can write to him on his fan page. I just hope he reads it. And meanwhile, in another part of the city, specifically the central police station, Toshinori entered inside while carrying the slime villain and some containers. Central Police Department. Secretary, good afternoon, Yagi-san. Toshinori, good afternoon. I've come to deliver this villain to you, putting the villain's slime containers on the counter. Secretary, thank you very much for bringing him, signaling to 2 officers to take him away. It must be hard being All Might's personal assistant, right? Toshinori, it's not that bad, at least the pay is good, haha, making the secretary laugh a little. Hey, I have a question. Is Detective Tsukachi here? Secretary, yes, he is in his office right now. Do you want me to announce it? Toshinori, no thanks, I want to surprise my friend, starting to walk away. Secretary, Yagi-san, one last thing, getting his attention, tell All Might that it was very nice the way he defended that boy. My nephew is also quirkless, and knowing that the #1 hero supports them is a great relief. Toshinori, smiling, don't worry, I'll give him your message, heading to his friend's office. Detective office. Tsukachi, hearing a knock on the door, go on, concentrated, reviewing several documents. Toshinori, entering quietly, are you busy? I can come later if you need time. Tsukachi, Toshinori, getting up to go greet his friend, of course not, I can take a little break. Toshinori, I'm glad, because I have to talk about something very important with you. Getting serious, it's about that. Tsukachi, understanding, wait a second, taking a small device from his desk and then turning it on. Now we can talk safely without fear of being listened to. Toshinori, thanks, I'll get straight to the point. I think I already have my successor. Tsukachi, that's good news, but if you're here it means there's a problem. What is it? Toshinori, I didn't get a chance to find out his name, and my time was up before I could follow him. Plus there's another thing. Tsukachi, sitting at his desk ready to start the search, tell me its characteristics, and while I'm looking for it you can tell me what else is happening. Toshinori, it shouldn't be difficult, he's the green-haired boy I saved when I defeated that villain. There were reporters recording him, you should be able to get his image. Tsukachi, starting to type on his computer, it shouldn't be difficult to locate. People with green hair are few, and the other thing you need? Toshinori, he told me a little about his life, and from what he told me and what I could see, it seems that he suffers from bullying in high school, and the teachers, despite being present at those moments, do nothing just because he is quirkless. Tsukachi, I understand what you're trying to get at, don't worry, I can take care of that too, but it will take a few hours. In the meantime, tell me, what's your life been like? Starting to talk while waiting for the results. Midoriya apartment. Izuku, entering nervously. I am here. Inko, Izuku Midoriya. Leaving the room, approaching her son. Izuku, oh no, if she says my full name it means she's really mad at me. Hey mom. Inko, Izuku. Hugging her son tightly only to pull away as she began to cry. What were you thinking, risking yourself like that, young man? Izuku, remembering that there were cameras at the incident. Did they show my image on the news? Inko, no, you're a minor, that's why they censored it, but I still know it was you pulling her ears. I demand an explanation now. Izuku, telling him almost everything that happened from the first encounter with the villain until his appearance in the alley, and that would be all. Inko, calmer now. Thank God Almight was in the area, and it was nice to defend yourself from the criticism of the other heroes. Smiling, you know. When I heard it on TV I remembered a little of the words Hisashi told you when he found out you didn't have a quirk. Izuku, I don't remember what he said. Inko, it's natural, honey, after all, you were only 5 years old. Walking to the kitchen, come help me cook and I'll tell you what he said, okay? And with that the day came to an end and a new one began. It was a normal day in Izuku's life, some teasing from his classmates. But for some reason he was in a better mood than most days. For his part, Bakugo was angry just remembering his idol's words to someone he considered inferior to him in every way. So he began to say that it was Izuku who got involved with the villain Baba and hindered the work of the heroes, and that most likely All Might had said those words out of simple pity. That rumor began to spread throughout the school, making the vast majority believe it, and with that they devised a plan to remind him at the exit of reality, and that a useless person will continue to be a useless person. Secondary school exit. Izuku, walking calmly, today was a better day than most. I want to get home to see if All Might read the message I sent on his page, laughing at the improbability of that, but is abruptly knocked to the ground. What's going on? Seeing how several students surrounded him. Extra guys, I'll tell you what happens, useless, kicking him in the stomach. We already found out that it was you who appeared yesterday in that news about the rescue of All Might, kicking him again. You a hero? Ha 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 ha, did you really believe those words? Obviously All Might said them only because he felt sorry for you hitting him on the head. Extra girls, on the side of the men, watching how they beat Izuku because of you. Nobody noticed Katsuki and how he resisted against that villain even though he was a student. Yes, this was his time to tell the world that he was here and that he will be the greatest hero. You are just a worthless Deku, who will die alone without anyone loving him. I almost feel sorry for you, almost, ha 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 ha. And so, several students were beating up a defenseless Izuku who didn't have the slightest chance to respond because they were holding him down so he wouldn't move. The teachers had gone out to investigate where all the noise was coming from, but when they saw what was really happening, they simply stood there watching, while Bakugo stood next to the teachers with a look of satisfaction at what he had achieved. All students, speaking almost at the same time, you will never be a hero. That's not true. It was the scream that was heard throughout the academy, while at the same time someone had fallen from the sky a few meters from the students. Everyone was nervous, because they did not know the origin of that. So many things went through their minds, and when the cloud of dust began to dissolve, they could see one of the worst possibilities for them. All students. All Might. Scared by what they did, and slowly moving away from Izuku. Izuku, getting up while staggering, seeing blurry All Might falling, but is caught by his hero. All Might, young Midoriya. Very worried, checking him. Thank God, he's just stunned. There doesn't seem to be any symptoms of contusions, but I'll still take him to get checked later. Looking seriously at the students who started to tremble. Extra student, HEF fell soon and we were just helping him, right guys? Making everyone nod their heads with clear nervousness. We want to be heroes too. All Might, don't try to fool me. I could perfectly see how all of you were beating him up. Do you want to be heroes so much? With these actions you are closer to being villains. How disappointing, causing everyone to lower their heads. Bakugo, again, watching everything while clenching his fists, the greatest hero, will defend the useless Deku. Again. Extra teacher, coming closer to try to talk. It is a great honor for our high school to have the visit of the symbol of peace. Don't worry about the boy you have in your arms, he is a bit clumsy. His name is All Might, watching how Izuku was slowly recovering. His name is Izuku Midoriya. In fact, I came here exclusively to talk to him. But I didn't come alone. Turning his head to see how a police patrol arrived and seeing how Tsukachi got out of it. He is Detective Tsukachi, and he comes here exclusively to talk to all of you. Tsukachi, arriving to the teacher and showing him his badge. I'll get straight to the point. All the teachers and the principal of this high school will be charged with negligence for having allowed the indiscriminate harassment of the student Izuku Midoriya just because of his quirkless status, which I remind you, they have the same rights as any of us heading towards the facilities. I also have orders to collect the surveillance tapes. You better cooperate, or you will be charged with the additional charge of obstruction of justice. Seeing the teachers tremble with fear, you better go to the principal and think about looking for a lawyer. You will need one. Izuku, already recovered, getting up on his own. All Might, what are you doing here? All Might, I came here because I couldn't answer your question yesterday, young Midoriya. Can someone without a quirk be a hero? By this point all the students didn't know what to say. Seeing the enormous problems their teachers were in, they thought they were in the same circumstances or even worse. And seeing that the number one hero had come just to answer that question, everyone was waiting to see what he would answer. Naturally, the only one who wouldn't stay quiet burst into anger for, according to him, asking the stupidest question in the world. Bakugo, of course he can't. Quirkless are the most useless thing in this world. All Might, completely ignoring Bakugo and staring at Izuku. Young Midoriya, I'm sorry for the delay, but here's my answer. Having his classic smile. At that moment Izuku had remembered the conversation he had with his mother yesterday, and how his father's reaction was when he found out that his son had been born without a quirk. Midoriya apartment, 9 years ago. Izuku, sitting in front of a computer crying after coming home from the hospital. Seeing his mother, I also can be a hero? Pointing to the screen which was playing a video of All Might. Inko, seeing her son's shattered face and going to hug him. I am sore, being interrupted by receiving a call from her phone. Izuku, it's your dad. Izuku, taking the phone with his little hands. Dad, I starting to cry again. Hisashi, what's wrong? Worried. Izuku, I can't be a hero. Hisashi, why do you say that? Izuku, the doctor said that I would never have a quirk, that I should give up. Hisashi, staying silent for several seconds until was that all, son? Don't worry, it doesn't matter that you don't have a quirk. I admit it's a little sad. I wanted you to inherit mine. But still, if your dream is to become one, then don't hesitate and make it come true, and don't let anything stop you. Inko, crying with joy hearing how her husband supported her son. Hisashi, hey, do you want an old phrase, Ori? It's old. It came about a little after the quirks and the heroes were just being born. What do you say? Izuku, why yes, calmer now. Secondary school, exit present. All Might, if anyone has the right to be called a hero, it is not the one who uses his quirk as a sword, nor the one who uses it as a shield, nor the one who uses it to heal the wounded. Izuku, in shock at what he heard, since those were the same words his father once told him, and the memory of his voice came to his head. Hisashi, the only one who can truly be called a hero is the one who risks his own life, protects his friends, saves his loved ones and faces danger. It doesn't matter if you fall, that's okay, cry all you want, after a defeat victory awaits you. All Might, be true to your wishes. Hisashi, cry out for your desires. Izuku, starting to cry inconsolably watching as All Might crouched down to his height and brought his hand to his heart. Why yes, I do. Hisashi, that will be. All Might, what? Izuku could see at that moment as if the figure of his father stood behind All Might smiling at him and saying at the same time the end of the sentence. Make you a hero. The whole place had fallen into a deep silence. The only thing that could be heard was Izuku's crying, which seemed to have no end. Knowing his answer, he rushed to hug All Might, who responded without any problem. All Might, young Midoriya, I can see that you have suffered a lot, squeezing him in a hug to comfort him, but don't worry. I won't let that happen again. Do you know why? Because I'm already here. Raising his voice so everyone could hear, Master, I have found him, and I am sure of my decision. He will be my successor, the new bearer of One for All. Chapter 2: A New Life. Secondary school exit. The whole place was in a deep silence. None of the students present dared to say a word. For his part, Bakugo felt very angry, not only for being ignored by his idol, but also for his idol's words, which he would never accept. Almight, are you feeling better now, young Midoriya? Still without releasing his hug, do those blows still hurt? Izuku, calming down and stopping crying, they don't hurt as much anymore. Almight, okay, let's go, young Midoriya. I'll take you to a friend's hospital to get those blows checked out just in case. Looking back at the students who were scared young people, I'm very disappointed in your behavior. If you wanted to be heroes, you should take the heroism of young Midoriya as an example, letting go of the hug and getting up. Putting his hands on Izuku's shoulders. Bakugo, unable to bear any more words, heroism. He's nothing but a useless, quirkless who will never stop being a coward. Someone like him would never be heroic. Almight, noticing that Izuku was starting to tremble, I see, he must be the one who torments him the most in this high school, lightly squeezing Izuku's shoulders to convey security, and lowering his gaze to then whisper a few words to him. Don't worry. You shouldn't be afraid anymore. Raising his gaze and looking directly at Bakugo, tell me, young man, what do you think makes a person heroic? Bakugo, a good quirk is to be strong. But most of all, to be brave. Almight, wrong answer. Heroism is doing the right thing even when you're scared. Who else in yesterday's incident did that? Not getting a response, stepping in to help even when it's not asked for, even if it's not appreciated, even when you're scared. That's the essence of a good hero. Lifting Izuku up and putting him on his shoulder. But enough talk, it's time to go. Taking a big leap, just leaving everyone listening to Izuku's screams. Bakugo, clenching his fists, watching them leave. After that, All Might took Izuku to a private hospital. Fortunately for both of them, the blows his companions gave him did not leave any permanent injuries, except for some burned scars that All Might noticed. Izuku's body was in perfect condition. Residential area, hours later. Izuku, walking next to All Might in his thin form. Thank you very much for accompanying me back to my house and for everything you have done for me, All Might. Tashinori, it's no problem, young man, but right now I'm not on duty, as you can see. Remember that you must keep the secret of my true form. Izuku, I'm sorry still, you must be a very busy person. Why are you doing all this for me? Tashinori, stopping, seeing that there was no one around, because you are the only one worthy to inherit my power. Izuku, huh? Very confused. Your power? What are you talking about? Tashinori, I'm talking about my quirk. Everyone thinks my quirk is some generic increase in super strength. But that's not true. My quirk is special. It's like a sacred torch, passing from generation to generation, inheriting it to whoever is worthy of having it. Izuku, in shock at what he heard, a quirk that you can inherit? Tashinori, that's right, and I have chosen you as the next in line. Izuku, starting to whisper meaningless words. Tashinori, stopping him so he could listen. I'm not lying. The power to transfer power, the name of such an incredible quirk that I have not confided to anyone else, is called, extending his hand as it began to shine. One for all. Izuku, one for all. Tashinori, one man gains power, that man grants it to another, and again it is given and passed on. In doing so, the brave of heart heed the calls for help and save lives. Only they can carry this power. Izuku, incredulous, why do you give someone like me that incredible power? Tashinori, because you were the one who shone the brightest in that incident. Despite not having any quirk, you were the only one who acted to save a life. Not even the other self-proclaimed heroes intervened, seeing how Izuku's eyes watered. But it is a decision that only you should make, so what do you say? Izuku, wiping away a few tears, to think that he would tell me all that, to think that he would go so far to tell me his deepest secret, to think that he has so much trust in me. That's why making a decision, yes. I will. Tashinori, smiling, that was a quick answer. I like it. Walking again, in that case let's not waste any more time. Let's go tell your mother. Izuku, what? Surprised? Isn't it supposed to be a secret? Tashinori, well, yes, but don't you think she would suspect that her son awakened his quirk more than 10 years late? Izuku, well, maybe, but... Tashinori, don't worry. I'm not going to tell him the whole truth, just what's necessary for now so he doesn't worry. In other words, it will be a truth hidden behind a lie. Seeing Izuku's face, trust me, smiling. Izuku, why yes, please let everything go well, worried. Midoriya's apartment, 20 minutes later. Izuku, opening the door, I'm here mom and Inko, Izuku, Midoriya. Where were you? Arriving at the entrance, do you know what time it is? Izuku, I'm sorry, but entering alone so that Tashinori could also enter the apartment. Tashinori, I'm very sorry for the trouble you caused Mrs. Midoriya, but I took your son to the hospital after Almight saved him from his high school classmates who were beating him up at the exit, and I didn't let him out until I was sure he was okay. Inko, very worried. What? Taking Izuku by the shoulders and turning him around, are you really okay? Where did they hit you? Who was it? Izuku, I'm fine mom, seriously, moving away a little. Besides, we have visitors, nervous about what will happen. Inko, huh? Seeing a very thin blonde at the door, I'm sorry and thank you very much for helping my daughter, sir. Tashinori, my name is Tashinori Yagi. I am All Might's personal assistant, and don't worry Mrs. Midoriya. In fact, I have a message to give you on his behalf. Can I come in? Inko, a message from All Might? Looking at her son, is it true? Izuku, nervous about what Tashinori might say, why yes. Inko, okay, come to the table while I prepare some tea. Tashinori, thank you very much, closing the door and entering the apartment. Midoriya apartment, dining room, 5 minutes later. Inko, arriving at the table with 3 cups of tea, I'm sorry for the delay, sitting in front of both. What is that message? Tashinori, are you aware of the incident with that villain yesterday in which young Midoriya was involved, right? Inko, yes, I almost had a heart attack when I saw that news. Fortunately, All Might was present to save him. By the way, I send him my deepest gratitude, bowing slightly. Tashinori, don't worry about that Mrs. Midoriya. But what I was saying, pausing slightly to take a sip of tea, All Might was truly impressed by his son's bravery. He had never met a young man like him. His son has something special. He has the heart of a true hero, making Izuku's eyes water again. That's why he wants to train him, to help him fulfill his dream of being a hero, impressing Inko. Inko, but Tashinori, if you worry about him being quirkless, let me tell you that, as you saw, he doesn't care about that. He sees the value of people by their actions and not by what their quirks can do. That's why he wants to help you, if that's clear to you. At that moment, Inko didn't know what to think. It was one thing for the number 1 hero to defend Izuku, but training him himself was something completely different. She was worried. She could see how the heroes face dangerous villains and more All Might. But remembering her son's dream and the words of her late husband, she simply decided to trust. Inko, I agree, but Tashinori, do you have any questions? Inko, well, I don't mean to discredit All Might, I just wonder, would he really be a good teacher? Izuku, mom, why do you say that? Inko, I say this because I have seen it many times on television, and on no occasion that I have seen has there been an intern from an academy like other professionals have had. Tashinori, seriously thinking about those words, Mrs. Midoriya is right about that. I have always been a hero, never a teacher. Remembering Nana, she was not alone in my education. I suppose I could ask for help. I understand your point, Mrs. Midoriya, and on his behalf, let me tell you that that will not be an impediment to give the best in the training of your son. Getting up from the table, if you excuse me, I have to go now. I will tell him that you accept, and I will tell him your concern. I will also ask you to keep this a secret, okay? I don't think it is necessary to say the reasons. Inko, of course, getting up from the table, as a mother, my greatest happiness is seeing how my son manages to fulfill his dreams, and if All Might himself sees so much potential in Izuku, then I leave him in your care, and I can only tell you, bowing while her hair tie fell off, thank you very much. Tashinori, the one we have to thank is you for raising your son with such good values. Bending down to pick up the rubber band. But it looks very familiar, this rubber band, why do I feel like I've seen it somewhere? Handing it to Inko, here you go. Inko, thank you. Tashinori, that league is already very deteriorated. I assume it has sentimental value, right? Inko, yes, this league is very important to me. Looking at it fondly, it may be old and fell down sometimes, but I made a promise to treasure it forever. Tashinori, did your husband give it to you? Inko, no, I've had this league since I was a little girl, and a heroine gave it to me. Her name was Nana Shimura, leaving Almight speechless. Izuku, I know you once told me that story, but I don't remember it very well. How did it go? Inko, well, I was just a little girl and I was sad because I had lost my favorite hair tie at the time when suddenly she appeared, starting to remember. Muzurifu, several decades ago. Nana, arriving in front of Inko, are you lost, young lady? Everything is going to be okay, giving her a smile. You see, I am a heroine, but I am also a mom. Inko, girl, oh no, I'm fine. It's just that my favorite hair tie fell somewhere, and I can't even find it with my object attracting quirk, so it's already lost. Sad. Nana, did you lose your favorite hair band? Well, we certainly can't allow that, taking off her hair band, leaving her hair loose. Here you go. Bending down to offer it to her. Nana, of course, take it. Inko, thank you very much, Miss Heroine. Receiving it in her hands, I will treasure it forever. Nana, I can't ask for more. Take care of yourself, young lady, getting up and walking away from the place next to a young blonde boy. Midoriya department present. Inko, stopping, remembering that was the only time I saw her in person. Her death was a real shame. The one who must have had it the worst was her son. I remember he was a blonde boy. Tashinori, with watery eyes, trying not to cry. Teacher, despite so many years having passed, there are still people who remember you. Inko, remembering her guest, I'm sorry to interrupt your outing with my story. I know it's not as exciting and a heroic act as being rescued from a villain, but… Tashinori, I understand, and none of that is necessary. Even an act as simple as calming a little girl says a lot about the kind of heroine she was. Smiling, then taking out her phone. Young Midoriya, I'm leaving, but first let's exchange numbers so I can tell you where your training will be. Izuku, yes. Having another number on his phone for the first time other than his mother's. 2 days had passed after that moment, and some things had already begun to change in Izuku's life. The main one was that due to Detective Tsukachi's investigation, all the teachers and the principal himself were in serious legal trouble. For that reason, until they gave a new order, classes had been suspended. The other thing that Izuku never imagined would happen was that he would be quietly entering the mansion of one of the richest and most influential families in the country, which were the Yaoyorozu family. Yaoyorozu mansion, in front of an office. Izuku, nervous, thinking about how expensive everything looked around him all. Tashinori, pretending to cough to stop it. Remember what I told you, Izuku. Izuku, that's right, calling him master when he's in his true form and All Might when he's a hero. I'm sorry, master, how weird it feels to call him that. Tashinori, don't worry, you'll get used to it over time, but tell me, what's wrong? Izuku, wasn't it that we were going to start my training? Seeing how he nodded, so what are we doing here? Tashinori, we came to talk to one of the few people I can consider a true friend, and I also need to ask him a favor. Knocking lightly on the door, listening to them pass by. Ryuji, watching the blonde enter his office. Tashinori, I'm glad to see you. When they told me you were here to see a young man, I got very curious. Let me guess, you need help, right? Tashinori, yes, I'm sorry to come just to ask you a favor. Ryuji, don't worry, it's the least I can do after the time you saved my family's life in that villain attack. By the way, where is that young man? Tashinori, huh? Turning his head, seeing that Izuku hadn't entered. What are you doing there? Come in. Making Izuku enter slowly. Don't get nervous. Closing the door. Allow me to introduce you. Putting his hand on Izuku's shoulder, this young man is called Izuku Midoriya, and he's the boy I chose to give that. Noticing how his successor looked at him in disbelief. Don't be surprised, Izuku. He's my friend and he also knows my secret. His name is Ryuji, offering his hand to Izuku. Nice to meet you, Midoriya-kun. My name is Ryuji Yaoyorozu. Izuku, reciprocating the greeting. Nice to meet you, Sir Yaoyorozu. Ryuji, I see you're a bit shy. Haha, sitting at his desk, offering him to take a seat. So he's the one you've chosen, huh? Tashinori, that's right, and I have to train him, but first I needed to ask you something. Ryuji, sure, tell me how much you need. Taking out his checkbook. Tashinori, with a little sweat on his forehead, it's not exactly money that I need. You heard the news of the lawsuit against all the teachers and director of a high school, right? Ryuji, yes, my investors suggest that if the opportunity arises, I should buy it and demolish it to build something there. Why? Tashinori, telling him everything about high school and the treatment towards Izuku. Most likely after what they did they will fire everyone and close the high school. The problem is that Izuku still has to finish his basic studies, but I don't want the same story to repeat itself wherever he goes. Ryuji, I understand, and since you know that I am on the board of directors of the school where my daughter studies, you want me to enroll Midoriya-kun and keep an eye on the teachers, right? Toshinori, yes, bowing slightly please. Ryuji, you don't have to bow. Toshinori, of course I can do that. In fact, if he is the one who will be your successor, I will be happy to help you in any way I can. Smiling while looking at Izuku in exchange for something, of course taking a sheet of paper from his desk and writing on it. Izuku, what would it be? Ryuji, nothing important. Midoriya-kun, just the absolute exclusivity of your image once you become a hero. Izuku, processing what he heard. Excuse me? What? For what? Ryuji, you know, figures, posters, merchandise with your face on it, creating movie series, anything that people want to buy that is related to you. Passing the sheet of paper. This is not a contract, it's just a commitment that you will sign the real contract in the future. Do you accept? Izuku, not knowing what to do, looking at his teacher. Toshinori, he also manages everything related to my brand and it's not that bad, plus the profits are good and have helped me to donate and help different causes. Izuku, if you say so, looking at the sheet and then signing it. Done. Ryuji, excellent. Taking the paper and then putting it away. And with that matter finished, both adults began to talk about their lives and tell him how they met. It was there that Izuku learned that a couple of years ago some villains wanted to kidnap the entire Yaoyorozu family to ask the government for a great fortune. And how their great plan was thwarted by Almight, and from that moment on he carried his mark, and with the passage of time he gained his friendship and trust by telling him his secret. Izuku, excuse me Yaoyorozu-san, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can I use your bathroom? Ryuji, sure, the nearest bathroom is at the end of this hallway. After turning left, it's the last door. Izuku, thanks. Leaving the office. Yaoyorozu mansion, hallway, minutes later. Izuku, returning to the office, I can't believe their bathroom is bigger than the entire apartment where I live, hearing as if someone was running and bumping into a girl while crossing the hallway. But before he could apologize, he was dragged into one of the rooms in the mansion. Who is this girl? Suddenly appeared, blushing for having her so close. Hey who? Speaking in a low voice. Sure. Keep quiet or my butler will find me. Butler, outside in the hallway looking for her. Miss Momo. Where are you? You must go meet with one of the candidates. Walking away from the place while still looking for her. Momo, I'm sorry, I hope you understand, I'm tired of attending those meetings. Izuku, extremely blushing, looking like a strawberry for being so close. And no problem, but see could you? Momo, realizing while walking away, feeling a little embarrassed, I'm sorry about that. That's no way to make a good first impression. Let me make it right. My name is Momo Yaoyorozu and thank you very much for not raising your voice while you were looking for me. Izuku, it must be Mr. Yaoyorozu's daughter, trying to calm down with great difficulty. I am Izuku and Midoriya and I was invited to come in. Don't he think that I would come in without permission? Momo, yes, he is nervous. Nice to meet you Midoriya-kun, and don't worry about that. The security of the mansion is very high. Everyone says that it is almost as good as the UA Academy. That is why if you were walking calmly down the hallway you must be someone trustworthy. With a slight smile. Again, thank you very much for helping me. Seeing where they were, they won't think about looking for me in this place. Izuku, slowly calming down. A library? Momo, yes, everyone in this mansion knows that I love reading. Izuku, confused, doesn't that make this the worst place to hide? Momo, no, this place is so obvious that no one would waste their time looking for me here when they have the whole mansion to do it. Going to a bookshelf. Do you want to read something while my butler moves away from this area? Taking several books. Izuku, not wanting to be rude, of course, approaching Momo to help her carry the books to a table. Momo, thanks for helping me. It's nice to meet a guy who has manners, not like those others sitting at the table. Izuku, hey Yaoyorozu-san, I know I don't know your motives, but is it really okay for you to have that butler looking for you all over the mansion? Momo, don't worry about him, he's not a bad person, it's just that frowning he's very insistent with those meetings with the candidates to be my fiancé. Izuku, fiancé? You mean your father? Momo, oh no, quite the opposite. Thanks to him I still don't have one. He and my mother have prevented that as much as possible. But some of my father's most important partners insist on these meetings so that I can meet their children. Squeezing her skirt a little. It's annoying, but it can't be avoided. Izuku, that's why you hide. To have peace. Seeing how he nodded his head. I'm sorry I made you say those things to a stranger. Momo, don't worry. Everyone in this mansion and the company knows it anyway. Having an idea, but if you really feel guilty then come with me to read, and not just until my butler leaves. Stay with me until you have to go. Izuku, well, I wanting to refuse, but seeing the illusion in Momo's eyes he simply couldn't do it. It's okay. Momo, really? Excited. Thank you very much, Midoriya-kun. Having a beautiful smile. That smile made Izuku blush again, looking like a strawberry. He was happy since it was the first time a girl invited him to spend time together. Because everyone knew he was quirkless, they always pushed him aside, and when they talked to him it was only to bother him. For Momo it was no different. She was genuinely happy. Despite loving reading, she enjoyed the experience even more if someone was by her side. It was a habit she generated as a child because her parents read different books to her all the time. But as the company and their responsibility grew, they had to leave that aside. To Izuku's surprise, the books that Momo had brought were about history, specifically from the pre-Quirk era. To say that he was amazed by everything he read was an understatement. Knowing everything that humans were able to achieve long before Quirks existed was fascinating to him. Although he knew something about it, schools didn't teach much about it, only the most important events and in a very light way, so he loved learning more about that time. Several minutes passed until Izuku could see that one of the books had a different cover. It looked older, and out of curiosity he grabbed it to read its name. Izuku Argonaut? Momo, looking at the book that Izuku was holding, that is one of my favorite books. It is not about history, it is more of a legend. Izuku, curious, what is it about? Momo, tells the story of a boy who, despite all the difficulties he had in life, never gave up on his dream of becoming a hero. Izuku, looking at the book with great interest, becoming a hero, lightly squeezing the book. Momo, noticing Izuku's interest in the book, if you want you can take it as long as you return it when you finish reading it. Izuku, are you sure? Noticing how they opened the library door and Ryuji and Toshinori entered. Ryuji, so here you were, Toshinori, and I thought you were lost, and we went out to look for you. Seeing his daughter next to Izuku, I'm glad to see that you two have become friends. Seeing his daughter, I've already been informed that you missed your meeting. Momo, I'm sorry, Dad, lowering his head. Ryuji, don't worry, I'm the one who regrets having to make you go to those meetings. Frustrated for a second, but sees the book that Izuku was holding in his hands. Isn't that book? Momo, yes, it's the book that you and Mom read to me when I was a child. Smiling, Midoriya-kun is interested in reading it, that's why I lent it to him. Does that seem okay to you? Ryuji, sure, I have no problem, just take care of him, okay? Izuku, yes. Toshinori, looking at his watch, we have to go now. Izuku, you have to rest well to start your training tomorrow here with the young Yaoyorozu. Izuku/Momo, confused, looking at each other. Train here? Ryuji, surprised, I thought you both talked about that. Toshinori, after all, you two aim to enter the UA Academy to be heroes. Izuku/Momo, silence for several seconds, processing the information. After that funny scene for the adults, they explained the situation to them, and to Momo, Izuku's surprise, he would enter the same high school as her. She was happy about that, and when she found out that he also wanted to be a hero, she asked him about his quirk. Fortunately, Toshinori had thought of an excuse that he could say while he transferred one for all to her, so Izuku said that his quirk consisted of accumulating energy to release it whenever he wanted, but that he still had a hard time using it without hurting himself, so he usually never uses it. Fortunately, she believed him, and with that said, teacher and student left the mansion, but not before Toshinori thanked Ryuji and Izuku for all their help, thanking him for lending that book to Momo, promising that he would take good care of it while she read it, and once on the way back to Izuku's apartment, he asked Toshinori something. Izuku, carrying the book in his hands, master, I thought you yourself were going to train me? Toshinori, and I will. Only if we have the right equipment it will be more beneficial and give better results. Speaking without noticing that his legs were shaking, It's good that I called Gran Torino when I was with Ryuji, and they made me see that cleaning that beach was bad training for a beginner like Izuku. Listen to me, Izuku. Starting tomorrow, your training will begin, so you must try your hardest. After all, we only have a few months before the UA entrance exam. Noticing Izuku tense, but I also want to tell you that you are not alone. I will be in every part of your training, and as I promised your mother, I will strive to be the best possible teacher for you. Smiling, that is why we both must give our plus ultra. Ha 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 ha. Izuku, looking at his teacher, he's right. It hasn't even been a week since I met him, and my life has changed a lot for the better. Holding the book tighter. I will do my best in my training to become a hero. Chapter 3, New Ties. Yaoyorozu Mansion, Gymnasium, several days later. Tashinori, okay, enough for now. Izuku, running on top of a machine bee, but I can still breathing between gasps. Tashinori, coming closer, don't overexert yourself. Izuku, forcing him to go down. Listen, just like you have to exercise your muscles, you also have to take rest intervals, and if you combine it with the correct diet, you will have the most optimal results. Smiling, he really tries hard in his training. Turning his gaze, noticing Momo approaching. Have you finished running, young Yaoyorozu? Momo, yes, with 2 towels in her hands. Take Midoriya-kun. Izuku, blushing heavily, taking the towel and wiping away the sweat. Thank you very much. Momo, I saw you while you were running. You really try hard. Smiling as she remembered the reason for her training. Your parents must be proud that All Might recognizes you so that he can help you with your training. It's a shame that he couldn't come. Izuku, I'm sorry to have to lie to you. Well, the truth is that my mother almost had a heart attack when she found out, and even more so when she found out that I would be training here at the Yaoyorozu mansion. Momo, and your father? Seeing how Izuku lowered his head and Tashinori became tense. Did I say something wrong? Tashinori, no, it's just that. Izuku, my father, taking a breath, had an accident, and well, he. Momo, understanding the message and runs to hug him. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you remember that. Izuku, it's okay, returning the hug. A little you didn't know, and it was a long time ago. AI, entering the gym. I see I came at a bad time. Momo, turning her gaze and being surprised by who she saw. Mom separating herself from Izuku's hug and approaching her mother, receiving a hug from her. When did you arrive? AI, I just arrived, darling. Looking at her guests, I'm glad to see you again. Yagi-san, looking at Izuku, and you must be Izuku Midoriya, right? Smiling, nice to meet you. My name is AI Yaoyorozu, and as you can see, I'm Momo's mother. Izuku, nervous, and nice to meet you. AI, he's really nervous. Don't be nervous, Midoriya-kun. My husband told me about you and how All Might asked him to lend you the gym so you can take the UA exam, but where is he? I haven't seen him on the news for a few days. Izuku, looking at his teacher, confused. Tashinori, I'm sorry about that, but he had to attend to an urgent matter. That's why he left me instructions on how to continue with the training. AI, I see. Looking at her daughter, honey, why don't you rest while we have some tea? Momo, sure. Excited, Midoriya-kun, Yagi-san, are you coming? Tashinori, of course, we'll go after you. Izuku, walking behind AI and Momo while whispering to All Might, Master, doesn't she know? And now that I realize it, it's true that for several days people haven't seen All Might. Tashinori, no, only Ryuji knows my secret, and I'm going to take a break to dedicate most of my time to training you. Izuku, seeing the anguished face of his student, don't worry. There are many heroes out there who can take care of common villains. Izuku, but. Tashinori, putting his hand on Izuku's shoulder, don't worry. If a really strong villain appears, I'll go defeat him. For now, let's rest while we drink tea and then continue training, okay? Izuku, calmer, yes, master. Tashinori, I'm sorry to have to lie to you, Izuku, but I don't have much time left as a hero, and it will be worse when I give you the one for all. That's why I want to save as much time as possible in case I have to protect you from any danger. Yaoyorozu Mansion, main hall, several minutes later. Ryuji, arriving in the living room, seeing everyone. Am I on time? AI, welcome, love, lifting a small teapot with very fine decorations. Do you want some? Ryuji, yes please, approaching his wife to give her a kiss. I'm glad you came back, sitting next to her and looking at his guests. And how are you doing, Midoriya-kun? Izuku, Very well, sir, bowing slightly again. Thank you very much for allowing me to use your personal gym. Ryuji, don't worry, in fact, I have two good news for you, causing everyone to look at him. Starting next week you can start studying at the academy where Momo goes. Momo, happy you're going to like Midoriya-kun. If you have any questions about the secondary, don't hesitate to tell me. Tashinori, imagining the second one, and what's the other news? Ryuji, seriously, I bought the land of your old high school. In fact, I already had it demolished. AI, that's where you told me they were bothering Midoriya-kun? Momo, those fools, frowning, remembering when his father spoke to him about the subject. AI, what will happen to the teachers and students? Ryuji, as far as I could find out from my lawyers before buying it, it was that teachers would never be able to work in any other educational institution again, and with the students being minors they were more permissive, but they still had their punishment. Tashinori, what do you mean? Ryuji, all of them received a stain on their record, and as a result, if any of them wanted to enter an academy, whether it be a hero academy or a normal one, they will have to be evaluated and accepted by the director of said academy, and I also took the liberty of establishing restraining orders. In case they think it was your fault. Looking directly at Izuku, Midoriya-kun, they will never bother you again. Izuku, not believing what he heard as he started to cry. Momo, Midoriya-kun. Worried, what's wrong? AI, putting her hand on her daughter's shoulder and then whispering, honey, he's just happy, it's best to let him vent for a few moments. Tashinori, putting his hand on Izuku's head, I really have a lot to learn, it never occurred to me to do that. Later I will talk to Mrs. Midoriya about that screaming blonde who was apparently the worst of all of them. And in this way several minutes passed until Izuku finally calmed down, and at the request of Tashinori, who thought it was best to leave training for that day, since he had to tell something to Izuku's mother, and once about to leave through the door Izuku turned to see the family. Izuku, Yaoyorozu-san. Ryuji/AI/Momo, yes? Gaining a few seconds of silence until they laughed a little. Ryuji, you're going to have to specify Midoriya-kun. AI, it's best that you call us by our names. I have no problem with that. I've only known you for one day, but with what my husband has told me and what I saw today I realize that you are a good boy, smiling at him as she approached and squeezed his cheeks for a second. Momo, yes, in the short time I have known you I can say that I consider you a good friend, so I have no problem with you calling me by my name. Ryuji, not liking that part, but deciding to change the subject, and what did you want to say? Izuku, I, bowing, Ryuji-san, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. I have no way to repay you for everything. AI, smiling, the best way to pay him back if you want is by becoming a great hero, and together with Momo you can support each other as good companions. Ryuji, well, and the profits from your image when that day comes will also be worth it. Izuku, I promise. Taking a few steps back as he said goodbye, see you tomorrow, Ryuji-san, AI-san, and looking at Momo getting nervous, Yaoyorozu-san. Momo, hey! Pouting, why do you call my parents by their names and not me? Izuku, blushing, but. Momo, say it, determined, say my name, or I won't let you go until you do. Izuku, noticing how all the adults, and even some servants in the distance, looked at him waiting for him to speak, turning as red as a strawberry Wayao. Momo, getting sad, being seen by Izuku. Izuku, Yamamo. Momo, tilting head, Yamamo? Getting a little happy, I like it, it's a nice nickname. Izuku, really? Momo, yes, but I won't call you by your name until you get it right with mine, smiling, Midoriya-kun. AI, raising an eyebrow at the two young men, could it be possible that she, quickly discarding the idea, no, nobody falls in love that quickly, I should stop reading so many romance novels, although if they spend a lot of time together something might happen. By the end of the day Tashinori took Izuku home and proceeded to tell him everything he saw about the behavior of the screaming blonde he saw. Inko knew instantly that it was her best friend's son and forced Izuku to tell her the whole truth. Although at first he refused, Tashinori made him show the burned scars he once saw when he took him to the hospital. Between tears, Izuku began to tell them everything he did to her and about the time he suggested suicide. To say that Inko was angry about that was an understatement. She was really hysterical, so much so that her quirk had started to get out of control and she began to lift large objects all over her apartment. Fortunately, Toshinori intervened and managed to calm her down, but not before earning a small trauma from his successor's mother. In the end, when they asked Izuku the reason why he never said anything, he simply did not want to cause more problems for his mother, and that perhaps his friend will one day return to how he was before. Immediately between Inko and Toshinori, they told her that a true friend would never do any of the things that Katsuki did to her, and upon learning of the restraining order that Momo's father imposed, she was immensely happy, and having an impulse of courage she called Mitsuki, where she told her absolutely everything and made it clear that she never wanted to see her again for not having educated the beast that she had as a son better. The days passed, and finally the day he would enter his new high school had arrived. It was very big, and it was obvious at a glance that those who studied there came from very prestigious families. Fortunately, Toshinori bought him all the supplies along with the necessary uniforms so that he could fit in and not attract attention. High school, just a few minutes before classes start. Izuku, walking through the halls. This place is really big. I can't find my classroom. Looking at a paper with directions to get there. I should have come with Yamamo, but she had to come earlier. Noticing a large crowd of students, and curiosity gets the better of him, making him go see what was happening. Extra students. Old man, look, there she goes. Yes, as cold as ever. It is not for nothing that she is known as the Ice Queen. Damn, I called her behind the school last week to confess and she never came. Who does she think she is? Stealing the glances of all men without caring about anything. And that hideous scar on his face is disgusting. Izuku, I see that no matter the place there will always be people like that. About to continue looking for his classroom, hearing one more comment. Extra student, she thinks so much of herself just because she is the daughter of the hero Endeavor. Izuku, Endeavor's daughter, trying to see her, but only manages to see her back. Such beautiful hair. Extra student, thank goodness we're not in the same class with her as with Yaoyorozu. Gaining Izuku's attention. Anything we do to her, her father could kick us out of here. Izuku, is she in the same classroom as me and Yamamo? Watching her walk away, I have to follow her if I want to get there on time, going after her as the alarm sounded, causing everyone to force their respective classes. High school classroom, minutes later. Izuku, standing in front of the door waiting to be called, very nervous. Ruji-san assured me that no one would bother me here. I must trust him and be calm. Teacher, before starting class I have to give an announcement. Starting today you will have a new partner. Looking at the door come in, making Izuku enter and stand in front of everyone. His name is Izuku Midoriya and he was recommended by Ruji Yaoyorozu. Surprising everyone, Midoriya, your seat is at the back next to Todoroki, pointing to the place. I assume you know the class president. Seeing how Momo greeted him happily. For everyone else you can ask them questions in your free time. Now sit down. Izuku, why yes, going to sit next to Todoroki, trying to greet her. Nice to meet you. Shuko, ignoring him. Izuku, awkward. Now I understand why they call her the Ice Queen. I'm Shuko, the guy who was following me a little while ago. Izuku, I'm sorry. I just didn't know where this room was. And I Shuko, forget it, ignoring him for the rest of the class. Once that awkward moment, the day passed normally. The difference in education was clearly greater than his old high school. Luckily Izuku was always applied to the studies and also had Momo, who was more than willing to teach him any subject that was difficult for him. Once the classes ended, naturally everyone approached Izuku to ask him several things, among them his quirk, to which, resorting to the lie that he told Momo, he told them that it consisted of accumulating energy, but that he could not use it because he would hurt himself if he did. And even though they believed it, they started saying that he was practically quirkless, and they started to ignore him, because they didn't dare to do more, knowing who was backing him. Fortunately, none of them had seen the news about the sludge villain, or else they would know that he really was a quirkless at that moment. The days went by and Momo always seemed to be by his side, from the morning when she picked him up to go to high school together, to when they left together to continue training at his gym. That led Izuku to slowly lose his nervousness around Momo, and see her as a true friend, and without him knowing it. That day another friendship would begin for him. High school classroom, dismissal time. Momo, Midoriya-kun, are we going? Izuku, sorry Yamamo, today I have to clean the living room, Also today I have to rest my muscles so I won't be going to training. Momo, I see, it makes sense. Your training is much more intense than mine staring, but it's starting to give results. You're not as thin as when we met leaving the room. See you tomorrow. Izuku, yeah. Saying goodbye to her from the door, I wonder who I had to clean the living room with. Shuko, appearing behind with me scaring him. Have you finished talking to your girlfriend? Staring at him coldly. Izuku, Todoroki-san? Blushes as she's not my girlfriend. Shuko, I see, shall we begin? Izuku, why yes, leaving the classroom, I'll go quickly for what we need. And so between the two of them they were cleaning the entire room, either of them saying anything. That place was flooded in a silence that was extremely uncomfortable for Izuku, and for Shuko Todoroki it was strange, although the only person who spoke to him directly was Momo. He never felt in her that retained contempt that he could perceive from his other classmates. He thought it had something to do with that scar. Although her scar was very noticeable, it did not take away her beauty. Instead, he could put his hand in the fire and assure that it made her look even more beautiful. And already tired of that uncomfortable silence, and gathering all the courage in his body, and remembering the advice to have more confidence from All Might and Ruji, he spoke. Izuku, Todoroki-san, do you mind staying and cleaning? Shuko, not really, it's better than being at home. Izuku, you know, I find it incredible how Ruji-san made it so that even in this high school we all have our turn to clean the classrooms. I guess that will help them maintain some humility. Shuko, ridiculous, stopping cleaning. This is useless. If once everyone leaves this high school they behave as they normally would. Staring at him, look at your case. Most likely they wait to leave to start making fun of you for not being able to use your quirk. Izuku, and you? Feeling bad, do you also make fun of it? Shuko, no, surprising Izuku, you can believe me or not, but unconsciously touching his scar. I hate those who abuse others just because of their quirk. Angry, remembering her father. Izuku, does it have to do with your scar? Seeing how her face changed, she seemed angry. I'm sorry. I really didn't want to make you have bad memories. What can I do? I made her angry. Come on, think of something. Having an idea, I know. I just hope she doesn't kill me. Shuko, still angry. Whatever. Let's finish quickly so I can leave. Watching how Izuku unbuttoned part of his shirt. What are you doing? About to attack him with her quirk, but stops when she sees something. Scars. Izuku, with part of his shirt lifted. Yes, a friend made these for me, remembering the conversation between his teacher and his mother. I mean, someone who I thought was my friend made them for me, and he made them for me for 10 years. Shuko, what? Touching his scar, almost the same time as mine. What do you mean by this? Izuku, I'm not sure. Confusing. Shuko, I know these scars can't compare to yours, but I just wanted you to know that someone else can understand you a little. Shuko, do you understand me? Angry, your scars are hidden. Instead, I have this horrible thing all over my face. And it's even worse that it was my own mother who did it to me. Izuku, I'm sorry. Covering himself with his arms out of fear. Shuko, seeing how he was shaking, what am I doing? Remembering his father, I got mad as hell. How disgusting. I'm sorry. Izuku, don't worry. Adjusting his uniform and cleaning again. Let's finish quickly. Shuko, feeling bad without knowing how to fix it. Yes. And with a silence even more awkward than when they started, they dedicated themselves to finishing as soon as possible. Several minutes after finishing, Izuku began to put all his things in his bag, but in his hurry, the book that Momo lent him and that he had not yet finished reading fell near Shuko. Shuko, picking up the book and reading the title. Argonaut? Izuku, why yes, Yamamoto lent it to me and I haven't finished it yet. Could you? Shuko, I handing over the book, but without letting go. I'm really sorry. You were just trying to be nice and I treated you really badly. Slightly lowering her head. I'm sorry. Dropping the book. Izuku, don't worry. Seeing that she was really sorry. It's normal to get angry if someone you don't know says all those things. Noticing Shuko's look, she still feels guilty. I remember that mom once told me that if I see a sad girl I should try to cheer her up by giving her a compliment. I hope it works and she doesn't get angry again, you know. I don't think your scar is horrible. Blushes at what she'll say. I think it makes you look cute. Shuko, having a slight but still visible blush. Thank you. Smiling slightly. It's the first time they call me cute since I got this. We didn't have a good first impression, but extending her hand. Nice to meet you, my name is Shuko Todoroki. Izuku, reciprocating the greeting. Nice to meet you too, you already heard, but my name is Izuku Midoriya. Shuko, Midoriya, can I ask you a question? Seeing Izuku nod. What is that book about? I've never heard of it. Izuku, excited. It's really exciting. It tells the story of the Argonaut, a boy whose dream is to be a hero and faces many dangers to do so, even though no one believed in him. Leaving the room while they continued talking. Time passed, and to everyone's surprise, Shuko Todoroki, or as many knew her, the Ice Queen, was seen talking from time to time with the boy who everyone classified as useless for not being able to use his quirk without hurting himself, after everyone was already jealous of him for spending so much time as Momo, who was considered one of the most beautiful girls. Now they had to endure seeing how Shuko Todoroki, the other most beautiful girl by men, seemed to have a friendship with him. In all that time, Izuku put in his maximum effort in his training, and his physique made it noticeable. It was not something exaggerated, it simply gave him a tall appearance. And with only 2 weeks left until the entrance exam to the UA Academy, the big day arrived, and to move on to the next step of his training, Tashinori took him to a beach full of garbage where, to Izuku's surprise, a small old man with a cane and wearing a cape was waiting for them. Dagoba Beach, early morning. Gran Torino, they're finally here. How much longer were they going to make me wait? Tashinori. Izuku, master. The seeing Tashinori trembling. Tashinori, I am sorry, master. Izuku, master. Gran Torino, so it's him, huh? Approaching Izuku, starting to look at him. Well, at least he's not just skin and bones anymore, giving him a light blow with his club. But you're too small, keep your back straight. Izuku, hey, rubbing his bump. And who are you? Tashinori, he was one of my Izuku teachers. I asked him to come today, speaking calmly, but still shaking. Gran Torino, brat, you're lucky this moron called me months ago. Did you know I wanted you to clean this entire beach right off the bat? Izuku, incredulous. What? Seeing all the trash, and then looking at his teacher. Really? Tashinori, scratching the back of his head. In my defense, I will say that I didn't do it. Gran Torino, because I was the one who stopped you. Hitting him with his cane anyway. I think it's time to give it to him. Tashinori, recovering from the blow. You're right, master. Standing in front of his successor Izuku, the time has finally come. Your body is now strong enough to give you the one for all. Izuku, enough? What would have happened if it wasn't? Gran Torino, you would explore. Seeing Izuku's face of terror. Didn't you tell him? Tashinori, noticing how he was sweating from nervousness. Better give it to him before he hits you again. Seeing Izuku, brat, don't worry. By seeing you I can tell that your body will revisit. Izuku, it's okay. Calming down. What do I have to do? Almight, entering his muscular form and pulling out a hair. Izuku, in shock. Gran Torino, holding back laughter. His face is identical to yours when Nana did the exact same thing to you. Izuku, it's a joke, right? Almight, no, in order to pass it on to you, you have to receive some of my DNA, and this is the best way. Handing him the hair. I'm sorry, Izuku, but my master did it to me, trying not to laugh. Izuku, I'm sure there are better ways to do this, eating it with some disgust. Done? Gran Torino, these impatient young people of today. Shaking head. You have to wait for all the power to transfer to your body. This may take some time, for the moment, and now that it's not crazy, you can start cleaning this beach. Izuku, excited. Yes, sir. Starting to pick up several pieces of trash. Gran Torino, there's no turning back now. Approaching a Tashinori returned to his thin form. Fortunately, he still has a few days to learn how to use it. It would have been really stupid to have given it to him on the same day of the exam. Seeing Izuku in the distance, are you really sure you gave it to him? Tashinori, don't you think you can? Gran Torino, personally no surprising him, but I thought the same about you when Nana gave it to you, and look how far you've come. Smiling slightly. The right to choose the next in the line of succession is exclusively of its current bearer, and now that brat has it. Seeing Izuku move a refrigerator. Now tell me, are you really sure you gave it to him? Tashinori, the day I met him, I could see it. Inside Izuku beats the heart of a true hero. That's why no matter who says otherwise, no matter what happens in the future, I will always be sure that I did. Smiling. The right choice. After that, the minutes passed as both adults waited for the transfer to be correct. During that time, Toshinori could see Izuku carrying different electronic devices such as washing machines, stoves, and how he was pushing a van with difficulty. That was when he truly understood that, in fact, the Izuku he had met months ago would have been unable to move any of those things. Gran Torino, brat. Getting his attention, making him go with the sullen ones. Izuku, a little tired yet? Gran Torino. I think it's time to try it, seeing the joy in Izuku now stand in front of the sea and try to use it. Izuku understood, following the instructions, but turns to see them. And how do I use it? Toshinori, just scream from the bottom of your heart while shouting smash. Noticing how they looked at him, squeezing your butt cheeks also works. Gran Torino, don't you have anywhere else to talk nonsense? Puts his hand on his face. He's your successor. Tell him how to use him properly. Toshinori, I'm sorry, thinking for a few seconds, emotion seeing how Gran Torino was about to hit him. I'm serious. Let me finish. Looking directly at Izuku, when I use one for all, the only thing I think about is doing the right thing. So remember your reasons for being a hero, and then try it. Izuku, affirming to look directly at the sea as he prepared to strike. My reasons for being a hero, closing his eyes. I want to be a hero to help whoever needs it, remembering his entire life. I want to be a hero that no matter who needs it, is willing to lend a hand, remembering his mother, the Yaoyorozu lords, and his friends. I want to be a hero who can always defend his friends and loved ones, remembering his father, and above all I want to be a hero that can make him proud. Gran Torino, watching in shock as Izuku's arm lit up a little while red stripes appeared. Impossible. Will he succeed on his first try, seeing something strange on his arm and then launching himself towards him? Izuku, whispering part of the words his father once told him, be true to your wishes, preparing his arm to throw the punch, cry out your desires, opening his eyes, smash. About to throw the punch, but receives a kick from Gran Torino that throws him into the sea. Gran Torino, stupid brat. You almost broke your arm. Izuku, getting up with a great pain in his arm. Do you mean that this? Gran Torino, let me check it out. Checking it for several seconds. It's not broken, but it's best if you let it rest for a few hours. Toshinori, master, what happened? I was going to make it. Gran Torino, and that's the problem. His body can barely hold the one for all without exploding, but using it to the fullest is very different. Izuku, but then what can I do? Gran Torino, don't be like Toshinori and use your head. According to what he told me, you are a big fan of his, so you must have seen a lot of his videos. Tell me, are they all the same? Izuku, thinking, of course not. His battles are with different villains, realizing Almight has faced many types of villains and none were equally strong, but they were all defeated without suffering much damage. That means he holds back. Going to look for his hero notebook and start writing with some difficulty. Gran Torino, have you figured it out yet? Following him to see what he was doing. Brat, what are you doing? Izuku, sorry, updating my notes on what I knew about One for All. Gran Torino, intrigued like Toshinori, can I see? Izuku, IWL, handing him the notebook with some nervousness. Don't take long. Toshinori, did you have notes? Why didn't you tell me? Then I could have told you what you needed, smiling. Izuku, WL, it's not something I show much, it's more of a hobby. Gran Torino, turning page by page as he grew increasingly nervous, these aren't just simple notes, it's a detailed record of various quirks with their strengths and weaknesses. There aren't only heroes here. There are also some villains who were famous. Handing him the notebook, noticing the number marked on it. Does this number you marked mean you have more of these notebooks? Afraid to know the answer. Izuku, why yeah, I have 12 more of these. Gran Torino, staring at Izuku, this child not only managed to use One for All on the first try, he understands everything, he learns extremely quickly, and now he also has a great analysis of different types of quirks. Toshinori, what kind of child did you choose as your successor? Chapter 4 UA Academy. Dagoba Beach. Izuku, okay, finishing writing in his notebook. I think I understand it a little better. Gran Torino, now what did you discover? Still a little surprised, really? And what is it? Izuku, well, if my body still can't withstand the full power of One for All, it would be best to use a minimum percentage putting his hand on his chin. Also there is the fact that when I was going to use it, it was only on the arm. But All Might in his battles uses his entire body to fight, so I must learn to do the same and try to use one for all throughout my body. Tashinori, extremely happy entering his muscular form. Ha, you really are very intelligent. Izuku ruffling his successor's hair. There is no doubt that your new high school and the help of the young Yaoyorozu has served you a lot. Gran Torino, this child, being surprised again. At this rate this child will become a real monster. Having a slight smile. Maybe he can definitely finish off that villain. Well, theory is different from practice. Try to put it to the test. Izuku, yes sir. Closing his eyes and concentrating again. Come on, spread the power throughout your body. Several seconds passing without any success. I can't, frustrated. I almost did it. Why not use it now? Gran Torino, well, just using it on your first try is already impressive. All Might, he's right. Izuku, this is only your first day with one for all, so you still have to get used to it. Besides, crouching down, putting his hand on his chin, being imitated by Izuku. Remember that one for all gets stronger as each wielder uses it, and I've been a hero for 40 years, so it will cost you more to learn how to use it than it did for me. Returning to his thin form while smiling at Izuku, but don't worry. With continued training and with your intelligence, I'm sure that soon you'll be able to use it on your entire body. Gran Torino, for now, keep cleaning up the trash. You only have 2 weeks until the exam. Izuku, yes sir. Starting to clean the beach. And that's how her training began, cleaning Dagoba Beach every day after school. At first, Momo felt a little sad about not being able to train with Izuku again, but when she found out it was at All Might's request, she had no choice but to wish him luck. For her part, when Shuko found out that Izuku was also going to UA, she was genuinely happy and told him that she would also take the test to be recommended, and they wished each other luck. The 2 weeks of training had passed. It was already the last night before the big day. Izuku for his part had only cleaned 15% of the beach, but he decided that whether he entered the UA or not, he would finish cleaning it every weekend until it was completely free of trash. During those 2 weeks, Izuku had only managed to activate one for all on one limb at a time, and with a power of only 3%, it was not much, but it was enough to dent some metal object with one blow. Midoriya apartment, night. Inko, hearing someone knocking on the door for the last time. Between you and I, we have nothing to talk about. Mrs. Bakugo, don't insist. Hearing someone knocking on the door again and going to open the door angrily, surprising whoever had arrived. Yagi-san? Tashinori, trembling a little, remembering his little trauma. Hello, did I come at a bad time? Inko, sad, no, not at all. I'm sorry I opened the door like that. I thought it was someone else stepping aside. Come in, don't stay out there. Tashinori, and don't worry, I understand and thank you. Entering the apartment. When he gets angry he's really scary. I don't mean to butt in, but is there a problem? Inko, something like that. Giving a small sigh. It's because of Mrs. Bakugo. She has tried to explain to me the things that happened with our children walking until reaching the kitchen where she served some tea. She even wanted to bring that demon of hers for a son to apologize. Tashinori, worried, and he did it? Inko, of course not. I reminded him of the restraining order, and that if he brought it I would call the police. Taking a sip to calm down, but leaving that aside, do you need anything? Tashinori, thank goodness Ruji gave that order. I just came to see Izuku and encourage him. I know he's not as nervous as before, but I still want to make sure he's calm. Inko, I see, smiling, thank you very much for that. He is in his room. He must continue studying for the written part. Pointing to the hallway, it is the last door on the left. Tashinori, thank you very much. Finishing his tea to go see his successor. Izuku has tried harder than anyone else these past few months, and his attitude has slowly changed thanks to our advice and the young Yaoyorozu, and from the little he told me also thanks to the young Todoroki. Worrying a little about the girl's father and opening the door. Izuku ready for tomorrow? Seeing all the merchandise with his face. This is the first time I enter his room. Yes, he is a big fan. That could be a problem in the future. Seeing Izuku with his head down. Izuku? Approaching him, seeing that he is asleep. Izuku, I will do it. Whispering phrases while sleeping. I won't let you down, All Might. Tashinori, Izuku smiling while taking a small blanket. I'm already proud of you, covering him with the blanket. Rest. Once Toshinori left Izuku's room, he told Inko that he found him asleep, and both adults stayed talking for a few more minutes about various topics sitting in the dining room. The most predominant one was Izuku's training and how his friendship with the Yaoyorozu and Endeavor's youngest daughter have served him a lot. At that, Inko was surprised again. She had already assimilated her son's friendship with one of the richest and most influential families in the country. But to be told that her son also had a friendship with the daughter of the number 2 hero was incredible. She, in an attempt to joke, said that all that was missing was for her son to become friends with another girl with a family with great influence. Toshinori, ha ha ha, looking at the time, it's getting late, getting up from the chair, I'd better go. Good night, Mrs. Midoriya, heading to the exit. Inko, Yagi-san, stopping for a second, thank you very much for everything you and all might have done for my son. It's been many years since I saw him with such a sincere smile, and knowing that he has 2 good friends, I starting to shed small tears. Toshinori, Mrs. Midoriya, smiling, it is you who we should thank for raising Izuku with such good values, being completely alone, and do not worry, both All Might and I think the same about Izuku. He is a good boy, and we will make sure that his dream comes true, saying goodbye to an Inko who only wiped away her tears while smiling. UA Academy entrance, next day. Izuku, walking next to Toshinori before arriving. It's finally the day, noticeably tense. Toshinori, relax, you'll do fine. Izuku, breathing several times to calm down, I'll try. Master, can I ask you a question? Toshinori, you already did it, haha, seeing that he didn't laugh, sorry. Tell me. Izuku, will you also observe the test? Toshinori, yes, but the main reason is that Principal Nizu offered me a job a few months ago, and I told him I would give him my answer after the exam. Izuku, really? But why wait so long? Toshinori, because I will only accept to work here if you pass the exam. Izuku, what? But what if I don't make it? Toshinori, Izuku, putting his hand on his shoulder, I don't want this to make you feel pressured, smiling, it doesn't matter which academy you go to. I would follow you so I could continue training you. Besides, it doesn't really matter which academy you graduate from. Arriving at the place, seeing several young people from various schools, it's your actions that define you as a hero. Being interrupted by a scream behind them. Bakugo, Deku. Approaching him, damn bastard. Because of your damn fault my story has a damn stain. Seeing how Toshinori got in the way, who the buck are you, damn extra? Toshinori, I see nothing has changed. Didn't your mother teach you manners? Angry Bakugo, when you demand someone's name, the least you have to say is yours first. Besides, what are you doing here? You have a restraining order against Izuku. Bakugo, TCH, passing by both, that doesn't matter to you. That stupid order doesn't stop me from participating in passing this exam. Stopping to see Izuku, listen to me well, Deku. Just because All Might defended you months ago doesn't mean you'll stop being a loser. Walking away from the place. Toshinori, are you okay, Izuku? Izuku, why yes, breathing a little quickly, I was just calming down. Ai-san and Ruji-san's advice to stay calm works. I imagine that he would come, but not that I would find him right at the entrance seeing his teacher. Can he come in? Toshinori, even if he passes the exam, his situation can only be decided by the director. Watching Bakugo walk away, for now don't pay attention to him, and concentrate only on your exam. Starting to walk with Izuku. Izuku, yes, receiving a message on his phone. Momo, Midoriya-kun, I'm already inside the classroom where I'll take my test. Good luck with yours and do your best. I'll also do the same with mine. I'm sure we'll both be able to enter, and we'll be in the same class. Izuku, smiling, I have to text him back, starting to write, and when he finishes he sees a small crowd of boys. Extra students, dude, look at that beauty. Yes, that two-tone hair looks great on her. But she is very serious. It seems that just by looking at you she could freeze you. Don't you know who she is? She's Endeavor's daughter. Bakugo, looking at that girl in the distance while raising an eyebrow. Endeavor's daughter, smiling arrogantly. Finally a girl who isn't an extra? Everyone could only admire Shuko's beauty, but she simply didn't pay the slightest bit of attention to them. She was about to enter the academy when in the distance she could see him, that boy who in a few months she could consider a friend, and to the surprise of everyone present she decided to back up and approach him. Toshinori, it seems that she came to greet you. Seeing how Shuko approached, I will go ahead, you have a few minutes before the exam starts. Walking away from the place. Shuko, Midoriya talking to him, making everyone jealous and Bakugo very angry. Was that your father? Izuku, and no, he's just a friend nervous. Shuko, I see, I just wanted to wish you luck on your exam, I hope you pass. Izuku, smiling, I also hope you come by, I'd like to meet up with Yamamoto in the same room again. Shuko, I'm not really friends with Yaoyorozu, but smiling, I would love for you and me to be in the same classroom again. Bakugo, what? Clenching his fists, watching Izuku and Shuko chatting, how the hell does that damn Deku know that girl? After a few minutes their talk had to end because Izuku's exam was about to start. Once inside he got a little excited to see the hero present Mike giving them the instructions. Unfortunately a student with glasses interrupted him because he believed they had made a printing mistake, which was ridiculous knowing the kind of academy they were. The impression he gave Izuku is that that boy must be somewhat rigid and annoying, although of course, not as much as Bakugo. Once the written exam was over, which to Izuku's great joy he was confident he had done excellently, it was time for the practical exam, which consisted of destroying robots of different sizes that corresponded to different points. From the beginning everything was very chaotic, with all the participants running to destroy as many robots as possible. For his part, Izuku activating the one for all in his hand could hit them and win a few points. The problem was his mobility. He blamed himself for being very slow compared to the others. And when he was about to finish the exam, an event that nobody expected occurred. Observation room. Tashinori, watching only Izuku's performance, he's doing well, he has some problems with 3-pointers, but in general he can handle them. The problem is his speed, he has to learn to use the OFA on his legs as well to boost his speed. Looking at the director, what do you think, director? Nizu, analyzing all the screens, we have a lot of good prospects this year, especially that explosion guy. But the real test begins now, pressing a big button. Immediately afterward a gigantic robot appeared in the middle of the field where Izuku was. Its size exceeded that of some buildings in the area. Everyone recognized it as the robot worth 0 points and ran away from it. Izuku for his part was about to do the same when he heard a moan. A brown-haired girl had been trapped by some of the rubble that it caused to break, and to everyone's terror, it did not stop putting her life in danger. Aizawa, principal. Worried, stop 0 point now. Nizu, I tried putting several codes on a roof, but it doesn't respond. Looking at Almight, making him nod and leave the room. Aizawa, we have to give the students a warning. Taking a microphone. Test field. Izuku, listening to an announcement over the speakers. Attention all students, get away from 0 points immediately, it's an order. Izuku, get away, looking at the brown-haired girl, but she needs help now, about to go out to help her, but the same boy with glasses stops him. Ida, what do you think you're doing? Holding Izuku by the shoulder, we were given a direct order. Releasing Izuku and turning his back on him, about to leave. How do you expect to enter this academy if you don't follow their orders? Izuku, I watching all the other students walk away, I watching that girl trapped, and right at that moment she saw him. Uraraka, help, extending her hand towards Izuku, help me. Izuku, I remembering All Might's words before entering. It doesn't matter which academy you graduate from. Immediately starts running towards that girl. It's your actions that define you as a hero. I will save you. That scream caught everyone's attention, both the students who stopped running and the teachers in the observation room. Each and every one of them just stared at Izuku, half of whose body had been covered by the cloud of dust produced by the destruction of the 0 point. Izuku, fast, seeing how the robot was about to step on the girl, fast, without realizing that the one for all was activating slightly on both legs. I have to be faster. Immediately, and without anyone noticing, not even Izuku himself, very small rays began to emanate from his legs. Each step he took was faster than the last. And when he realized he had arrived with that girl and activating the one for all again only in his right arm, he was able to move that rubble that imprisoned her and proceeded to carry her to get out of there. But when he tried to get out of there, it was too late. The robot was about to step on them. Everyone closed their eyes to not see that scene, and it was there when they heard a very familiar attack. Smash! When everyone opened their eyes, they were immensely surprised, since the number 1 hero was right behind those kids, and the robot that until a few minutes ago was about to kill them was completely destroyed. Immediately both students and teachers approached them. Extra students, All Might is amazing. Dude, he destroyed that giant robot, he's the strongest. What are you doing here? Weren't you on vacation? Are the rumors that he will become a teacher true? That was what the vast majority of students were saying until a teacher interrupted them all. Snipe, why did you disobey the order we gave you? Surprising Izuku and All Might, we had it perfectly controlled. Blatantly lying if you're unable to obey orders, forget about even being a hero. Ida, I told you so. Joining in on the conversation, if you can't see it then you don't belong to this academy. Causing many to start murmuring. All Might, hey. Izuku, shut up. Still with that girl in his arms that they had controlled him. That I don't belong here. Defending himself for the first time in his life, it was All Might who saved us, not you. Looking at the teacher, you are nobody to tell me where I belong or not. Looking at Ida, I don't care about your orders. I don't care if I enter this academy or not. Looking at everyone, how could I consider myself a hero if I let a simple order prevent me from helping someone in need? Leaving everyone silent. Aizawa, this boy, smiling slightly beneath his ribbons. Uraraka, in Izuku's arms, looking at him impressed, incredible. All Might, Izuku, looking at the back of his successor with immense joy when suddenly he hears a familiar voice in his head, you chose well, looking everywhere very confused. Who said that? Very confused. Did he open it imagining it? After that, a few days had passed in which Izuku already assumed that they would not accept him because of the way he yelled at the teachers and did not obey them. But at least he did not regret it, and when the letter with his results finally arrived, he immediately received a call. Midoriya apartment, morning. Izuku, Yamamo? Answering the call, hello. Momo, Midoriya-kun. Did you get your letter yet? Excited. Izuku, why yes, I just arrived, but… Momo, perfect. Interrupting him, don't open it yet. My parents want you to come here and open it together, they just sent a car to pick you up. Izuku, but… Momo, don't worry, your mother is also invited, we'll be waiting for you here, by ending the call. Inko, arriving with her son Izuku, who was he? Izuku, it was Yamamo, he said he wanted us to open the letters together, and that he already sent a car here. Inko, yes, you made a good friend, smiling, be careful and remember not to break anything. Izuku, actually they also want you to go. Inko, what? An hour later she had arrived at the mansion. Inko was extremely nervous, after almost having a heart attack when she found out she had been invited to the Yaoyorozu mansion. It got worse when she could see it inside and understood that this life or the next would not be enough to pay if she broke something. Yaoyorozu mansion, morning. Izuku, entering the room where the whole family was. Good morning. Ruji/AI, hello Midoriya-kun, greeting him normally, surprising Inko. Momo, Midoriya-kun, running towards him to hug him, making him blush, ready to know the results. Smiling innocently without knowing what it caused. Izuku, why yes, looking like a strawberry. Inko, with mouth open in shock, I knew they were friends, but I didn't think they were that close. AI, raising an eyebrow, wow, I didn't think that Momo would take such a liking to him, smiling, if this continues like this it seems that I will have a son-in-law in the future, laughing a little at his thoughts. Ruji, frowning and pretending to cough, you must be Mrs. Midoriya, right? Seeing that she was very nervous, I see who you got it from. Please come in and make yourself at home, our chefs are already making lunch. Inko, why yeah, it's hard to feel that way when this room alone is bigger than my apartment. Momo, Midoriya-kun, separating from Izuku and taking him by the hand, dragging him to the sofa, let's open the letters. Seeing that Izuku was just looking at the letter, what's wrong? Izuku, well, getting everyone's look, the truth is that telling him everything that happened in the test, that's why I don't think they accepted me. Momo, Midoriya-kun, with a slightly sad look. Izuku, I'm sorry Yamamo, but don't worry about me, I'll see which academy I can go to otherwise. Momo, fool! A little angry, how can you know that if you don't open the letter? Ruji, she's right Midoriya-kun, after all your effort you won't open it? AI, Even if you didn't obey his orders, you did the right thing, and I'm sure that a school whose focus is educating future heroes will take your actions into account. Momo. Besides, you promised me that we would go to the same academy together making a decision, and if they can't see the great hero that you are, then I don't belong there either. Surprising everyone, if you don't go, I won't go either. Having a big smile, you won't get rid of me so easily, Midoriya-kun. Izuku, surprised by those words. Ruji-san, Ai-san. Yamamoto having a quality smile. Thank you very much. Looking at his letter, you are right. No matter the result, I have to see what it says, starting to open it at the same time as Momo. Inko, shedding a small tear which I wipe away immediately. Honey, I'm so happy that people finally value you. Immediately after opening the letters, a small device projected a video, and to everyone's joy, both had been accepted into the academy, and to further celebrate, they were left in the same classroom. With such joy, Momo hugged Izuku again, to the joy of their mothers and the displeasure of Ruji, who in order to separate them demanded that they hurry up with lunch, using the excuse that there was something to celebrate. Yaoyorozu Mansion, dining room, noon. Ruji, okay. With a glass containing sake, we have to make a toast to Momo and Midoriya-kun. Raising his glass for one step closer to fulfilling their dreams. Watching how his butler served them all, and for the good friends, emphasizing that word while looking at Izuku that they are. Izuku, are Ruji-san nervous by how I look at him? We can't drink yet. Ai, calm down, Midoriya-kun, their drinks are different from ours. Looking at his butler, right? Butler, that's right, Madam Yaoyorozu. Looking at the young people, your drinks are just an imitation of the taste and smell of real sake, but it doesn't contain a single drop of it. You can drink safely, leaning a little and then leaving. Inko, calming down, that's good. For a second I thought it was real. Ai, my husband wanted it to be real. But after a little chat I made him see reason, staring at him, making him tremble a little, right, love? Ruji, why yes, trying to look in control, but let's not get distracted. Raising his glass along with everyone else's cheers. Being imitated by everyone and then drinking from his glass. Ai, seeing Momo's cheeks turning red, honey, are you okay? Is she? Momo, leaving the glass on the table, hip. Ai, wow, I didn't know that Momo was so weak. Just by smelling it she became like that. Izuku, Yamamoto, are you okay? Momo, turning her head, looking at Izuku, you're sitting too far away. Izuku, huh? Momo, getting up from her seat to sit next to Izuku, now you're closer, putting her hand on the cheek of an already blushing Izuku. Izuku, are you drunk? Momo, no, I'm not. I just want to be by my best friend's side, looking at him in a different way, making Izuku turn as red as a strawberry again. Midoriya-kun. Ai, having a funny idea, what an adorable couple of friends. Izuku, turning his head, looking at Ai, does this count as? Momo, Midoriya-kun. Izuku, yes. Looking back at Momo. Momo, why did you come back to see my mom? Are you interested? Izuku, what are you saying all of a sudden? Ai, I would also like to know the truth about that. Izuku, huh? Turning to see Ai, who had her face red like Momo with more sake in her hand, are you drunk too? Ai, Midoriya-kun, ignoring Izuku's question to say his own, are you interested in me? Momo, are you, Midoriya-kun? Facing him. Ruji, this must be a joke from Ai. In that case I'll join too. Oh, awesome battle. Izuku, one of them is your wife, you know. Not knowing how to get out of this, looking everywhere. Momo, Midoriya-kun, please answer. Ai, closing her eyes and bringing her hand to her cheek, this makes my heart race. Izuku, looking directly at Momo, listen to me. Ruji, Ai has big breasts, did you know? Izuku, looking at Ai's breasts for a second before hitting his head on the table. Momo, Midoriya-kun. Why are you so scared? Ruji, that proves he's interested in Ai. Izuku, no. 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 Shaking head many times. Ai, with a sad expression, aren't you? Izuku, I like you, as a person, of course, trying to calm her down. Momo, so you like it? Izuku, no longer able to bear fighting to not faint. Ruji, ha ha ha, looking at his wife, that was fun, but I think we should stop playing with him. I'm not playing surprising her husband, I'm serious. This is your punishment for wanting to give alcohol to minors. Ryuji, what? Looking at his wife What are you thinking? Inko, not believing everything she saw, is this where Izuku went to train? After that curious way of meeting each other, Mr. Yaoyorozu and Ms. Momo, who had recovered a little, said goodbye to Inko and Izuku, apologizing for all the problems they caused them, telling Inko that if she ever has any problems, she should not hesitate to ask her. The days passed and finally the big day had arrived, his first day of class, and Momo was so excited to start in a new academy next to Izuku, and as a way to compensate him for that scene he made at that lunch, she offered to take him to the academy as she used to do in high school. Midoriya apartment morning. Izuku, it's finally the day, finishing putting on his uniform in his room. Inko, Izuku. Speaking to him from the door, Yaoyorozu-san is here. Hurry up. Izuku, I'm coming. Hurrying. Inko, in front of Momo, I'm sorry Yaoyorozu-san, it seems that Izuku is not ready yet. Momo, don't worry, I can wait for you, smiling, we still have time. By the way, there's no need to be so formal with me, Mrs. Midoriya. Inko, in that case, I can say the same, dear, call me Inko. After all, you and my son are very good friends. Momo, yes, Inko-san. Inko, dear, thinking for a second, making a decision, can I ask you a huge favor? Momo, yeah, sure. What's going on? A little confused. Inko, surely your father had to have told you something about how they treated Izuku before in high school, right? Seeing how he nodded to go to a small drawer and take out some small papers, the truth is that it has been that way almost all his life, handing the papers to Momo. Momo, is this it? Seeing that they were drawings. Inko, one of her first works, smiling with some nostalgia and regret. Momo, the others are turning the pages, touched by the drawings and what was written. Momo, so cute and adorable. Inko, right. The first time I saw it I cried until I almost flooded the room, haha. Momo, I believe that, but Inko-san, why are you showing them to me? Inko, because getting more serious, Izuku not only had a really bad time in high school, it's been like that in almost all of them. Momo, even then? Getting a little sad at the possible answer. Inko, yes, the other children made fun of him and the teachers did little or nothing. This work that you have in your hands was not accepted just because of the excuse of me not being a professional heroine. Even when other children did something similar with their parents who were police officers and firefighters, they did accept them. But all that changed when Izuku met Almight, Yagi-san, your parents, and became your friend along with Endeavor's daughter. Since then Izuku has had a genuine smile again. Izuku is the only thing I have left since my husband died in an accident. That's why, bowing, please continue to take care of him at the academy. Momo, Inko-san surprised, Midoriya-kun, your life had to be even harder than I can imagine. Making a decision, don't worry Inko-san. Midoriya-kun is my best friend and we both promise to help each other, smiling, leave it in my hands, handing him the work again. Inko, thank you, with a few small tears which she wiped away when she heard Izuku approaching. Izuku, sorry for the delay. Arriving a little agitated, I didn't sleep well because I was so nervous on the first day. Momo, don't worry, looking at the time on her cell phone, we still have time, giving him a warm smile, making him blush because of how beautiful she looked. Shall we go? Izuku, how beautiful, saying exactly what he thought, making Momo blush for the first time because of Izuku. I am sorry. I just wanted to tell you that the uniform looks really good on you. Momo, thank you, causing both of them to remain silent for a second. Inko, it'll be late if you keep flirting, you know? Causing both of them to blush even more. Izuku/Momo, we're leaving. Leaving the apartment by Mom/Inko-san. Inko, have a nice day. Wow, those two at this rate will end up as more than just friends. It also seems that there is that girl Todoroki. I just hope that one of the two does not get hurt in case their friendship goes further, entering her apartment. After that moment, Izuku and Momo had gotten into the limousine. Immediately they began to laugh and talk about everything they expected the academy to be like, what their classmates' quirks would be like, or what subjects they would teach in classes. Their talk was like what you would expect from two great friends who had already known each other for almost a year, and when they least realized it, They had arrived, drawing everyone's attention for obvious reasons since not everyone arrives by limousine. UA Academy hallway. Izuku, walking next to Momo. This place is really huge. Momo, yes, and the doors are very high. Izuku, they must be for those who have quirks that alter their size. Looking at his classroom from a distance. Look, there's classroom 1A. Momo, I see him now heading towards him. I'm very excited to start classes. Hey, is it true what they say that Almight will be a teacher here? Izuku, yes, he told me, but no one must know that I knew, you know. Momo, of course, only my family and Inko-san know that he was training you. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone arriving in front of the door. This will be our secret. Izuku, yes, about to open the door. Thank you very much, Yamamoto. Momo, hey, come here, there's something I have to tell you, grabbing him by the tie. Izuku, why am I seeing her so cute today? Momo, first impressions are very important, you know? Helping him fix his tie ready, now holding the door frame while opening it. Let's meet our classmates. Chapter 5. You deserve to be here. UA Academy Class 1A. Momo, let's meet our classmates. Opening the door slowly. Izuku, yeah. Excited, I can't wait to see who we got drawn with. Starting to see several of them. I hope you did too, Todoroki-san, remembering 2 people he didn't want to see, and I hope he didn't get drawn with either of those 2, not being able to finish his thoughts when he sees them. Ida, don't put your legs on the table. Scolding Bakugo for sitting wrong in his chair. You're dirtying the good name of not only the academy, but also of those who once sat there. Bakugo, I don't care about that shit. Irritated, what school did you come from, you trashy character? Izuku, what bad luck for me, acting weird, being noticed by Momo. How is it possible that he is here? Ida, Somei private school. Smiling with arrogance disguised as pride, and I'm not some cheap character. My name is Ida Tenya, coming from a very important family of heroes for several generations. Adjusting his glasses, looking at him defiantly. And if you're asking, then answer, what school do you come from? Bakugo, ignoring him. Somei? Smiling, you are someone from the elite, widening his defiant smile. Listen to me well, it doesn't matter what damn school or what pathetic family you are from, just like I said in that pathetic Odin Academy. Standing up. Putting his foot on the chair, I will finish you all and I will be the #1 hero and the richest man. Ida, how cheeky. Remembering something, wait a second, did he say Odin? Adjusting his glasses, now that I remember, wasn't that academy demolished a few months ago? Seeing how Bakugo tensed, so you were there, starting to laugh, ha ha ha, now I remember. According to what I read, both the teachers and all the students had problems for messing with the Quirkless. Staring at Bakugo, how pathetic. To have the record stained just because of something like that. Bakugo, very angry, damn bastard. Creating sparks in his hands shine. About to attack him with his quirk when he sees the door, getting even angrier, damn useless Deku. Causing Izuku to tremble a little. How the buck did you manage to pass the exam? Generating sparks in his hands again. What damn cheat did you use to achieve it? Ida, you. Looking at Izuku, and also decides to approach. How disappointing that this academy has accepted 2 people like you. Looking at Bakugo, a guy who clearly does not know the slightest manners, and looking at Izuku, someone who is not capable of following the orders given to him. Looking at him in a bad way. Why don't you save us more embarrassment and withdraw from the academy? Izuku, lowering his head. Momo, standing in front of Izuku. Enough. Looking at the 2 of them with a frown. Midoriya passed the entrance exam cleanly. Raising the tone of his voice a little. Besides, you are no one to decide who can or cannot enter this academy. He clearly knows Midoriya, and from the way he reacted when he saw him, that can only mean that he was one of those who bothered him. Looking at Bakugo with clear anger, the director should know his restraining order, and yet he accepted it. Bakugo, returning to his seat, but not before seeing for a second at the back of the room Shuko sitting reading a book. Ida, Yaoyorozu? Impressed? How does the heiress of one of the richest and most influential families know someone like him? You're right, and I may not decide who enters this academy, unfortunately, remembering how Izuku yelled at him, getting angry about that, but, even so, he couldn't follow a simple order, and on top of that he yelled at one of the teachers. Noticing how everyone started to murmur, believing that I would be on his side, I myself witnessed everything that happened that day. Uraraka, happy I finally see you again. Coming up behind Izuku, surprising him. Izuku, you are remembering her, the girl who helped. Uraraka, hey, no help, confusing everyone for a second, you did much more than that. Staring at him, you saved me that day and you were a hero. Smiling beautifully, thank you so much. Momo, seeing how Ida was about to speak and decides to take the opportunity, really? Pretending not to know what happened, could you tell us what happened in that exam? Uraraka, of course. Putting her finger on her chin, remembering everything, we were all taking the exam normally when suddenly a giant robot, the size of a building, came out of nowhere, impressing some since they didn't get it in their exams. I tried to run, but a rubble fell on my legs and I was trapped. It was then that they gave the order for everyone to move away, smiling looking at Izuku, but he didn't. He was the only one who ran to help me, even though everyone knew that robot would crush me. He ran no matter what to save me. Izuku, but I didn't destroy the robot. Uraraka, that doesn't matter, shaking her head, you said it yourself that day. How could we consider ourselves heroes if we let simple orders prevent us from helping those who need it, causing a deep silence in the room, which then turned into bad looks towards Ida, who had no choice but to stay silent and sit back down in his chair. Did I say something wrong? Noticing the atmosphere. Momo, don't worry, smiling, you didn't say anything wrong, looking at Izuku. Midoriya-kun, can we sit? But before finishing that sentence, Shuko had finally looked up from the book. She hadn't paid attention to anything that was happening around her or the discussion they seemed to be having, much less did she want to talk to anyone. That was made very clear when both Mineta and Kaminari tried to flirt with her, earning them both a trap in a dense block of ice located in the corner of the room. But everything was different when she saw him. She immediately got up from her seat to get his attention, and to the surprise of everyone present, she had changed that cold attitude and a neutral expression to a warm smile which was only dedicated to him, and that is how that girl called him. Shuko, Midoriya gesturing to the empty seat next to him, sit next to me. Mina, looking into the distance, starting to write in a small notebook. Izuku, feeling everyone's gaze, heading to the seat that Shuko indicated to him, having her on his left. Momo, I wanted to say that, she whispered while pouting, just to follow him and sit to Izuku's right. Good morning, Todoroki-san, being polite. Shuko, noticing Momo, good morning. Yaoyorozu, staring at Izuku. Midoriya, I'm glad we're in the same class again. Izuku, I'm also glad to have you and Yamamoto back as classmates. Smiling with happiness. Mineta/Kaminari, who is this damn lucky guy, crying blood without being able to move a finger because they are still trapped? How the hell is he friends with the ones who seem to be the best in the class? Bakugo, hearing that perfectly, getting angry, clenching his fists. That damn useless man went to a better school while I had to go to a crap even worse than Orudera. Remembering that day several months ago, all this shit started when All Might defended him. Shuko, Midoriya takes, handing him the book. I already finished it. I really liked the story, thanks for lending it to me. Izuku, excited, it's really good, isn't it? Taking the book and putting it on the table. Momo, which book? Feeling curious, standing up from her seat in surprise. Argonaut? Midoriya-kun, squeezing Izuku's cheek, causing him a little pain. Isn't that the book I lent you a few months ago? Causing Izuku some fear because of the tone in which he asked the question. Izuku, searching for an excuse without success, opting to tell the truth. I'm sorry. I was going to give it back to you when Todoroki-san asked me to borrow it, and out of excitement because someone else would read it, I lent it to him without your permission. I'm really sorry. Momo, releasing Izuku, I forgive you, staring at him, but on one condition. Izuku, tell me, rubbing his cheeks. Momo, smiling, I hope you come to my house more often to train. The truth is that since you started that new All Might training session, we haven't been able to see each other much anymore. Shuko, Midoriya interrupting the conversation, is Yaoyorozu really not your girlfriend? Causing both of them to blush at those words. Izuku, and no, you're wrong. Todoroki-san, trying to calm down. Yamamoto and I are just good friends. Momo, yes, in the same situation as Izuku, and Midoriya-kun is my best friend. Shuko, I see, smiling as she felt a small calm in her chest. In that case, what if? Aizawa, if you think that in this place you are only going to make friends, You can go somewhere else, entering the classroom, interrupting what Shuko was going to say. This is the hero department, and we have no time to waste. Seeing how everyone became silent and settled into their seats, it took them 8 seconds to calm down. Well, let me introduce myself. I am your homeroom teacher. My name is Shota Aizawa. It's a pleasure to meet you, speaking noticeably as if he were tired. All, is that guy who looks like a caterpillar going to be our teacher? Aizawa, you will use this right now, taking a uniform out of his sleeping bag. Once you change, head to the physical education field, leaving the classroom quickly. I don't like being wasted. UA Academy Physical Education Field. Uraraka, a quirk test. Looking at her teacher, what about the ceremony? And the advisor meeting? Aizawa, if you want to become heroes, then we don't have time for such niceties. Staring at his students, we teachers have certain liberties in our teaching methods, confusing everyone. Throwing tests, long jump, 50-meter race, endurance race, strength tests, side jumps, upper body exercises, squats. You should know all those activities very well from high school. They are just physical tests in which you are prohibited from using your quirks in them. But we are different in that aspect. Looking at Bakugu, Katsuki Bakugu, go to the front and enter the circle. Bakugu, not saying anything and simply obeyed the order. Aizawa, how far could you throw the ball in high school? Bakugu, 67 meters. Aizawa, okay, throwing a ball at him now. You'll do it using your quirk in this case. Stand where you want and do what you want. The only rule is that you don't leave the circle, moving several steps away. Don't hold back. Staring at him, Director, I don't know what you intend by accepting this child with that background, but since you asked me, I'll keep an eye on him, glancing surreptitiously at Izuku, and at him too. Bakugu, getting ready to throw the ball. Okay, just increases the throw with a burst of power, about to create a huge explosion. I will show Endeavor's daughter that I am the most powerful. Shiny! Creating a gigantic explosion, throwing the ball as far as he could. Aizawa, first of all, one must know what one is capable of. Looking at the distance traveled, this is the indicator where their foundations as heroes will begin, showing the result to everyone, surprising them. Kaminari, 705 meters? Shocked, impossible. Mina, amazing. This looks fun. Aizawa, it seems fun. Do you think so? Annoyed, so you plan to spend 3 years here having fun without worrying about being heroes, right? Looking at him with a scary face. Okay, new rule. Looking at them all for a second without saying anything. Whoever I consider does not have even the slightest potential, I myself will kick him out of the academy. Bakugu/Ida, looking at Izuku, smiling, thinking they knew his future. Aizawa, and before you think it's unfair, lifting her hair and staring at them, our freedom means that we can do whatever we want with the students. And with that said, and despite the complaints of all the students, the tests began, where each one was able to stand out in their specialty, as in the case of Ida, who obtained first place in the 50-meter race, or Shoji, who indisputably obtained first place in the grip test with a mark of 540 kilos. And so it went with all the tests, where each student used their quirks as best they could. Izuku was no exception, although he could only use one for all at 3% on a single part of his body. At the same time, he wasn't doing badly. But the fact that he was holding back didn't go unnoticed by his teacher, who would test him in the last exercise they would do. Uraraka, throwing the ball gently with her quirk activated. Go, go, go. Aizawa, showing the results, surprising everyone with this infinite being. Well, let the next one happen. Looking at Izuku, making him nervous with how he did it. Izuku, Midoriya, you're next. Izuku, positioning himself in the circle with several thoughts. What should I do? I'm not standing out in any exercise, and with that threat of expelling whoever he doesn't consider an act, swallowing saliva because of how nervous he was. Should I use more percentage? No, if I do, my body wouldn't support it. Uraraka, somewhat worried, will she have problems with her quirk? Bakugu, of course not. Screaming, causing everyone to hear he's nothing but a useless quirkless, causing everyone to be confused. Looking at Izuku. Ida, quirkless? Smiling, I see, he must be the reason why they destroyed that high school. Well, that will only get him kicked out. Everyone had their own opinions on the matter. For their part, both Momo and Shuko were genuinely worried about their friend, and as for Aizawa, he could only have one thought in his head, and it was that the boy in front of him was holding back. Izuku, no, I have to continue with the 3%, that will be the best, activating the OFA, generating some barely visible red stripes all over his arm. Mom, All Might, Ruji-san, Ai-san, Yamamoto, Todoroki-san, thinking about all the people who have supported him by throwing the ball which reached up to 354 meters. What did you think? Breathing a little with difficulty, feeling his arm a little numb. Bakugo, what? Not being able to believe seeing Izuku use a quirk, damn useless. Launching himself with his explosions directly towards him. How the buck did a damn quirkless get a quirk? Angrier than ever, answer me. Launching an explosion without Aizawa being able to stop it in time, creating a smokescreen. Momo/Shuko, worried Midoriya-kun/Midoriya. Running to get closer, but they stop and are impressed just like everyone else by the one who had received the explosion. Izuku, All Might? Opening his eyes, noticing his master's back. All Might, you should calm down a bit, wiping the dust off his clothes which were a bit damaged. Those explosions could hurt someone, looking at him seriously, remembering the scars of his successor. Mina, the rumors that All Might would be a teacher at this academy were true. Siro, does that mean you're back from vacation? Kaminari, excited, this is amazing. Bakugo, why? Clenching his fists while gritting his teeth from all the rage he felt, which he released at that moment. Why are you defending him again? Confusing everyone except Momo, who knew what he meant. What the buck is going on in your head? Since you defended him that damn day, you have not been the same. Vacation. The All Might that we all knew never took a single day of rest. Frustrated, this is not normal. Pointing at him, what kind of deal did they make? Where the buck do they know each other from? Answer me. All Might, this boy's behavior is getting worse, staring at him so seriously that he not only makes Bakugo nervous, he also has that effect on some students. I don't have to give you any explanation for my decisions. Much less my life. Putting his hand on Izuku's shoulder, if I helped young Midoriya, it was because it was simply the right thing to do. Aizawa, enough, you too. Angry All Might, I don't care that you are the #1 hero outside these walls. In here you are just another teacher, and you are interrupting my class. Looking at Bakugo, as for you, how could you attack a classmate? Looking at him with his quirk activated. Once we finish you and I will go talk to the principal. Bakugo, TCH, looking with a lot of hatred at Izuku, blaming him for everything. Aizawa, and you? Looking at Izuku, still angry, are you going to allow All Might to always save you from everything? Throwing a ball at him during your exam, you seem to have more strength and speed. I don't understand how someone without any talent managed to pass the exam and get into this academy. Surprising Izuku, because he noticed you've been holding back during all the tests when I clearly said to give it your all. Looking at him seriously, does this seem like a joke to you? Izuku, I having no choice but to tell the truth, I can't control my quirk. Aizawa, then you shouldn't be a hero, you have zero potential. Looking at Izuku the same way many before him did, throws the ball again. So you can confirm my words and leave when you're done. At these words the whole place fell into a deep silence. You could only hear the gentle breeze moving the leaves of the nearby trees. Immediately All Might, Momo and Shuko were outraged by the way Aizawa addressed Izuku, and while both adults looked at each other defiantly in front of everyone, no one noticed when Izuku positioned himself again in the center of the circle. He was angry, no matter where he was. They always called him useless. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. He had worked harder than anyone else in his training to receive the one for all, and he was more than willing to prove it, and make it clear that All Might had not been wrong in choosing him. You can be a hero. It was the phrase that repeated itself in an endless loop in his head, that phrase that was said by two of the most important figures that Izuku has had in his life, All Might and his father. Don't let anything stop you. It was again his father's voice that came to his thoughts. That phrase that Hisashi Midoriya told his son the same day he was diagnosed as quirkless, and far from being bothered by it, he decided to support him. You were the one who shone the most in that incident. Now it was the turn of the phrase that All Might told him so many months ago, the day he saved him from the other high school students, and offered him to be his successor and inherit the one for all. By this point, everyone had already noticed Izuku and what he was going to do, and to his surprise, something was different about him. Those red stripes had reappeared on his hand, but unlike the barely perceptible ones from before, they were now too light, and they only became more intense. Izuku, with his eyes closed concentrating, He wants me to give him everything. The wind slightly moved his hair, not to hold back, remembering the limits of his body. I don't hold back because I want to, remembering the words of most of the people he's met in his life. What shouldn't a hero be? Remembering Aizawa's words, getting angry at them. You don't know anything. Remembering again the entire book that Momo lent him a while ago and how that boy that nobody believed in achieved his goal. Squeezing the ball tightly. I want to be like him. Increasing the one for all in his entire hand much more than its limit. I want to be like the Argonaut. Immediately everyone was surprised by what they were seeing. Izuku's hand was beginning to bleed because his veins were bursting from not being able to withstand so much power. His body began to rise. But everyone thought he had only stood on tiptoe because they were still touching the ground, but that was only on the outside. Deep within Izuku, without anyone noticing, not even himself, silhouettes had manifested, which all of them had agreed on something. They would undoubtedly support the new successor and would not let anything or anyone stop him. And with that said, the one for all had reached 100% for a few moments in the hand of its current bearer. Aizawa, what the hell is going on? Using his quirk on Izuku at all times. Why doesn't my quirk work on him? Izuku, teacher. Opening his eyes, enduring the pain of feeling the bones in his hand breaking. You wanted me to give everything, didn't you? Looking at the sky, you wanted me not to hold back. Preparing to throw it. This is my maximum. Throwing the ball while screaming. Smash! That shot was so powerful that it managed to cause an enormous gust of wind, changing the direction of the wind in the entire area. The enormous pressure exerted caused the surrounding trees to lose all their leaves, and some were even uprooted, and all of them, without exception, had to throw themselves to the ground to avoid the same fate. Everyone was in shock. No one expected that result, not even Almight himself, who could only understand that the power that Izuku will reach when he masters one for all will be much greater than he could even imagine. Izuku, I don't use my power to the fullest for this reason. Approaching Aizawa, who was still lying on the ground, showing him his completely broken hand, but I still used it to show him that I don't hold back because I want to, or because I feel superior, or any other stupidity that comes to mind. Aizawa, looking at the small device, opening his eyes very noticeably and opening his mouth, he pronounced before everyone the figure he had recorded: 3,748 meters, leaving some even more in shock. Izuku, staring him straight in the eyes, showing all his determination. You don't know me, and you don't have the slightest right to decide the potential of others without first knowing it. Starting to feel the pain causing him to fall to his knees. Maybe I still can't control my quirk, but that's why I'm here, to learn how to do and be a hero. Almight, young Midoriya. Helping him stand up. You have to go get help from recovery girls. Seeing Izuku's hand worrying and then looking at Aizawa. I guess your class is over, right? Aizawa, yes. Getting up from the ground. Take him to get treated. Looking at Izuku. I'm sorry for everything I said to you. Izuku, it's okay. Starting to walk, being helped by Almight. I'm used to it. Walking away in front of everyone, starting to cry, not only from the physical pain. Momo, Midoriya-kun, having a cluster of emotions, not knowing which predominated more: happiness for the incredible mark he obtained, admiration for the enormous power he could see for the first time, or sadness for perfectly understanding how those words of Aizawa must have affected Izuku. Shuko, Midoriya, watching how he walked away, being helped by Almight. Are they related in some way? Having a small internal conflict, but decides to ignore it to worry about his friend. Bakugo, impossible. Having a face of total shock. He should have been nothing more than a stone in my way. Aizawa, seeing how Bakugo was about to chase him. Where do you think you're going? Catching him with his ribbons. I told you that once we finish I would take you to the principal. Seeing his students. The class ended, and I will only tell them that none of them will be expelled. Walking away while he was dragging Bakugo. Almight, looking over his shoulder at that scene. How is it possible that he was allowed, and more with his background? Seeing Izuku trying to endure the pain from his broken hand. I'm going to have to talk seriously with the director after he makes sure that Izuku recovers. UA Academy entrance, end of first day. Izuku, walking slowly. I'm very tired. Seeing his bandaged hand. Well, at least I did my best today, although it was somewhat scary how that old lady got so angry seeing all the wounds on my hand. Momo, Midoriya-kun. Arriving, jogging until reaching his side. Is your hand okay now? Worried, gently taking his hand. Seeing how it was completely bandaged. Today was the first time I saw you use your quirk. Looking him in the eyes without letting go of his hand. Your power is incredible. But I don't like that you hurt yourself so much when using it. Izuku, I'm sorry. Yamamoto smiling, but don't worry, I'm better now. The recovery girl quirk is very useful to heal wounds. Momo, even so, getting closer to his face. I'm sure that neither my parents, or even worse Inko-san, want you to get hurt so much. Separating from him and letting go of his hand. So that's why promise me that you'll try not to hurt yourself so much again with your own quirk, please. Izuku, I looking at his hand for a second and then looking at Momo. I promise. Momo, smiling, well, in that case come, I'll take you home. Starting to walk, being stopped by someone. Uraraka, hey you two. Arriving next to them. Are you heading to the station? Wait for me. Momo, not really, they're coming to pick us up. Smiling slightly, but if you want we can take you too. This is my way of thanking you for telling the truth and for Ida to stop bothering Midoriya-kun. Uraraka, really? Thank you very much. Remembering something important, we didn't have time to introduce ourselves. My name is Ochako Uraraka. Nice to meet you. Momo, the pleasure is mine. My name is Momo Yaoyorozu. Izuku, don't worry, it's normal with everything that happened today. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Uraraka, confused, wasn't your name Deku? Causing Momo to look at her a little seriously, noticing that. Did I say something wrong? Izuku, no, it's just that Deku is what Bakugo calls me to insult me, and it means useless. Distracted without noticing that Shuko was also approaching them. Uraraka, huh? Sorry. Regretful, I didn't know. But you know, trying to cheer him up. Deku sounds very similar to Dikairu, which means you can do it. Shuko, speaking before Izuku, does no matter how you want to see it, an insult is still an insult. Surprising everyone with his arrival, isn't that right, Midoriya? Izuku, Todoroki-san is right. Looking at Uraraka, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but Deku is just an insult. Please don't call me that. Uraraka, it's okay, Midoriya-kun. Shuko, ignoring everyone. Midoriya looking at his hand. How are you? Remembering all the times she was hurt in her training with her father, does it still hurt? Izuku, don't worry, I'm fine. Smiling, thank you very much for worrying about me. Looking at his two friends. Momo, thank goodness Todoroki-san told her, although if she didn't, I would. Looking at her. Todoroki-san, are you leaving already? Do you want me to take you too? Shuko, no thanks, my sister will pick me up today. Starting to walk away, I just stopped by to see how Midoriya was doing. Looking directly at Izuku to smile only at him. I'll see you tomorrow. Izuku, why yes, blushes a little, being noticed by Momo. She almost always has a very serious expression, but when she smiles she is very beautiful, remembering Momo's smile, just like her. And with that said, the day had come to an end, and as all the students left the academy grounds to go home, both All Might and the principal watched from the office window as Izuku left alongside his new classmates. UA Academy Principal's office. Nizu, well, turning his chair, looking at some papers on the desk. What was it you wanted to ask me, All Might? Tashinori, I won't waste your time. I'll go straight to the point. I want to discuss with you. Looking at him extremely seriously, causing the room to feel the pressure. Nizu, sounds good to me, not caring about any of that while continuing to read the papers. What do you want to know? Tashinori, slightly clenching his fists, why did you accept Katsuki Bakugo into this academy? Chapter 6 Trust. UA Academy Class 1A, next day. Tashinori, ha ha ha, opening the door to the classroom slowly. I'm here. All excited, is that laughter? Could it be expecting to see who came in? Izuku, you came, smiling at seeing his master again, but that smile quickly disappears. What? Seeing his master enter, but in his thin form. Tashinori, entering like a normal person, leaving the entire room in complete silence. Izuku, feeling a bit of shame. Almost everyone. Who is this thin man? Shuko, that's, looking at Tashinori and then looking at Izuku for a second, the man who accompanied Midoriya on the day of the exam. Ida, getting up from his seat, who are you? Pointing at him, this academy only has professional heroes as teachers. I ask you to leave our classroom before our teacher arrives. Also just look at him, he's so thin that he looks like he's sick. Momo, outraged by Ida's comment, it's good to see Yagi-sen again. Ida, do you know him? Looking at Momo, but he looks like. Tashinori, young Ida, it is really sad to notice that being an aspiring hero you notice and classify people only by their appearance, making him shut up and sit down so that there is not another confusion again. I will introduce myself. My name is Tashinori Yagi. I am All Might's personal assistant, surprising everyone and making Ida tense. He is somewhat busy, so I will take his place during the theoretical classes. But do not worry, he will be present in the practical parts, so I hope that you also pay attention to me since I. Bakugo, getting up from his seat angrily, throwing the chair, not a crap. Pointing at him, you are nobody to give me orders. And even less if you also help the bastard Deku, remembering their encounter on the day of the exam. Tashinori, frowning, if you don't want to obey me it's fine by me, impressing everyone and making Bakugo smile, believing that his days in high school would repeat themselves as long as you want to be expelled, removing Bakugo's smile, although I would love to do it right now. Bakugo, clenching his fist, you can't do that. Tashinori, of course I can. Before you interrupted me I was going to say that I have the same authority as any teacher in this academy, and if you interrupt me again I will lower points on your final grade. Bakugo, tch, picking up his chair to sit back down, damn. Tashinori, exhaling a little air, for now let's not waste any more time, pressing a button which made several briefcases come out of the walls. Inside there are their hero costumes just as they specified. Being their first day, All Might asked that the entire class be practical, so they are waiting for them in Field B for the battle rehearsal, making everyone take their costumes to start heading to the locker rooms. Izuku, Yagi-sensei approaching his teacher, can I tell you something important? Tashinori, of course. Happy talking to his successor without noticing that someone was watching them. What's wrong, Izuku? Izuku, WL, you see, confusing his teacher for a second, I don't know how to tell you this. Tashinori, say it with confidence, putting his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku, if you say so, taking a breath, the way you arrived and introduced yourself was ridiculous. Tashinori, what? Shock B, but that's always been popular with kids getting discouraged. Izuku, yes, that's true, but with 4-year-olds. Tashinori B, but. Izuku, besides, no normal person says. I'm already entering like a normal person. Seeing how his teacher was, I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention. Trying to cheer him up, I just. Tashinori, ruffling his successor's hair, I know what you mean. I admit that now that I think about it, it's a bad idea to follow the advice of what's fashionable among young people to guys over 40 years old, smiling, don't worry. Now go put on your suit, wanting to make a joke, and not because it's about you. I will give you extra points for this, making both laugh. Bakugo, watching everything secretly, not only is it All Might, but that damn skeleton is also helping him, clenching his fists and going to the locker room. In this battle test I will show everyone that a damn failure will never stop being one, thinking about Shuko, and that way she'll know that I'm the best man. UA Academy Field B, several minutes later. All Might, having all the students in front. Well, now that we are all here we can begin. But first I want to say a few words to you, pausing for a second to say with great emotion, you all look amazing in those outfits. Looking at Izuku's, trying not to laugh, although yours is very obvious, Izuku. Momo, Midoriya-kun approaching his friend, your suit seems very practical. Shuko, imitating Momo, you look like a rabbit, smiling a little, it's cute, having a small blush barely visible. Momo, hey, not liking that part, wanting to change the subject, what do you think of mine? Izuku, I blushes a lot at how he looked. Shuko, I also want to know your opinion of mine. Midoriya getting closer to Izuku, be honest. Uraraka, approaching them without noticing the atmosphere that had been created. Girls, their outfits are incredible, yours too, Midoriya. That appearance reminds me of the heroine Mirko. Were you inspired by her? Izuku, and not really very nervous about having 3 pretty girls in front of him, noticing Momo and Shuko looking a bit discouraged, knowing the reason. Yamamoto, your outfit is somewhat revealing, blushes, making Momo embarrassed and cover herself up a bit. B, but I understand that it's because of your quirk, gathering courage to cheer her up. B, besides, it highlights your B beauty. Momo, blushing T, thank you. Midoriya-kun smiling sweetly without realizing it. Shuko, we better continue with the class, feeling excluded and wanting to walk away, but Izuku stops her. Izuku, Todoroki-san, wait, staring at her, your outfit is cute too, but. Shuko, but? confused. Izuku, I personally don't like that thing about your eye making Shuko touch that part. Knowing what she meant I already told you a while ago. But your scar isn't horrible. Speaking without any shame, your face is very beautiful with or without it, and it is even more so when you smile. Shuko, with a big blush perfectly visible. Do you really think that? Seeing how Izuku realized her words only to blush like a strawberry, but still nodded thank you very much, having a sweet smile on her lips. Is Mineta, interrupting. Damn you. Crying blood, how is it possible that someone with such a simple appearance has the two best girls in the class eating out of his hand? Being silenced by a blow with Tsuyu's tongue. Tsuyu, don't be a pervert, Karo. Mina, writing everything down in a small notebook. Oh my god, this is gold. I don't know who to root for. I didn't know there was a Don Juan in our class. Izuku, what? Shaking his whole body. It wasn't my intention. Bakugu, looking at Izuku with clear contempt, being noticed by All Might. All Might, ahem, pretending to cough so everyone pays attention. We better start class today. Ida-sensei, raising his hand, interrupting him. Aren't you going to say something to Midoriya for interrupting your class? Clearly his recent performance distracted everyone else, so I think. All Might, stop. Why does everyone seem to want to mess with Izuku? Not only do we have to put up with Bakugu, now it seems that Ida also has something against him. Class was about to start until you interrupted me again, so the one I should reprimand is you, young Ida, causing him to shut up and lower his hand. Well, as I was saying, today's practice will consist of a battle exercise. There will be 2 versus 2 teams of heroes against villains. Pointing to some buildings. The place will be indoors. The villains will have to protect a bomb and the heroes will have to infiltrate and stop them. The exam will only end when the members of a team are captured or the bomb is hit. Any questions? Momo, raising hand. How will the teams be chosen? Looking at Izuku for a second. All Might, the choice of team will be random thanks to this machine taking a small device out of his pocket. It will only take a second to decide the teams activating it. Izuku, nervous, please don't touch me with Bakugu. I'm not sure that in my current state I can do anything against him. Looking at his hand that broke yesterday, that was the result of surpassing my limit. All Might, noticing the nervousness of his successor, don't worry Izuku, I know I shouldn't do it, but I modified this machine before so that under no circumstances would you touch with Bakugu. Seeing that he had already finished, well, these are the teams showing the screen where the list was. Team A, Izuku, Midoriya and Momo Yaoyorozu. Team B, Shuko, Todoroki and Ochako Uraraka. Team C, Mizo, Shoji and Minoru Mineta. Team D, Katsuki, Bakugu and Tenya Ida. Team E, Yuga Oyama and Mina Ishido. Team F, Rikido Sato and Koji Koda. Team G, Kyokujiro and Denki Kaminari. Team H, Fumikage Tokoemi and Tsuyu Ajiri. Team I, Mashireo Ojiro and Toru Harakure. J Team, Aijiro Kurishima and Hanta Siro. Momo, happy look Midoriya-kun, we got on the same team, how lucky! Izuku, yes, relieved, good, I got rid of this, now I just need to not have to fight him. Uraraka, let's do our best Todoroki. Shuko, yes, as you say, returning to her cold attitude while looking at Izuku and frowning a little at seeing Momo. All Might, why is it suddenly a bit cold? Ignoring that to continue, well, now I will announce who they will face, activating the device again only to get an unpleasant surprise. How is this possible? Kurishima, is something wrong, All Might sensei? Who are we facing? All Might, these are with no other option, showing the confrontations to the students. Team B versus Team I. Team H versus Team J. Team G versus Team F. Team E versus Team C. Team A versus Team D. Those teams were a surprise for some people. Izuku, for his part, is really nervous about facing Bakugu so soon. Shuko and Momo were worried since they knew in general everything that their friend had to endure during high school and those who bullied him, led by Bakugu, who was really excited to have that confrontation where he would give absolutely everything to humiliatingly defeat whom he considers only a stone in his way. For his part, All Might is confused and angry about such a grouping since he himself had configured the machine so that this would never happen, and it was at that moment that he realized that the person responsible had not been an error of his, or of the machine. The real person responsible was the director, and the conversation they had had the day before. UA Academy Principal's Office, dismissal time, previous day. Toshinori, slightly clenching his fists, why do you accept Katsuki Bakugo into this academy? Nizu, is that the only reason you asked to talk to me? Without stopping reading several documents, I feel somewhat disappointed. I thought it would be something important. Toshinori, of course it's important. Getting up from his seat suddenly, didn't you read your file? Approaching the desk, your behavior, your actions, the restraining order. Placing his hands forcefully on the desk, it would only take one for any Hero Academy to reject your entry, and you don't care about me. Nizu, staying silent and then putting down the documents and indifferent, his actions only affected a single student. Toshinori, very angry at that attitude, don't you feel some empathy for what izuku happened? Throwing all the documents off the desk. Nizu, staying silent for a few seconds and then making a small exhale, I really can't understand humans and their habit of letting themselves be influenced by their emotions. Taking other documents out of a drawer during his entrance exam, the young Bakugo demonstrated exceptional skill in combat. Toshinori, so? Just because he's good at battle doesn't give him the right to do whatever he wants with other people and constantly humiliate them, clenching his fists tightly, to the point of suggesting he commits suicide. Nizu, it's necessary. Staring at him, you already gave up the one for all, so your days as heroes are numbered, and when your retirement inevitably comes, what do you think will happen when the villains find out? Leaving him silent, Endeavor doesn't have your charisma, much less your strength, so the crime rate could increase exponentially. Toshinori, that may happen, but that doesn't answer why I accept Bakugo. Nizu, turning his gaze towards the window, watching the students leave. When that moment comes, all available strength will be necessary. Toshinori, even so, his terrible attitude and unjustified hatred towards izuku will be a problem. Nizu, we must make sacrifices for the common good. Watching izuku and his friends walk away from a distance, as far as I know, he has been able to handle it for more than 10 years, so he will be able to do it for a little longer while I gather his information. Toshinori, your information? Confused, what are you talking about now? Nizu, having a slight smile, each and every one of the students that passes through my academy are investigated, what they can and cannot do with their quirks, advantages and weaknesses, in addition to finding the most effective way to defeat him if necessary. Turning to see Toshinori, who had a surprised face, that is why I accepted him in this academy. If we manage to make him change his attitude, the society will gain a strong hero focused on attack. Toshinori, what if we fail? Afraid of the answer? Nizu, in that case there wouldn't be many problems since we'll know how to neutralize him. This also applies to your successor with much more importance, since according to Aizawa's report his quirk had no effect on him. I'm telling you this only because it's about you. And I hope it's not necessary to remind you that this is a secret matter that is being worked on with the Hero Commission, so it will never be made public. Toshinori, Director Nizu, do you have no humanity? Nizu, humanity? Having a smile that for a second was somewhat sinister. Of course not. After all, I'm not even human. People tend to forget that I'm the rare case of an animal that developed a quirk. I rely on reason and logic before those that you call feelings. Picking up the documents from the floor only to then sit at the desk and read them again. If we're done with this useless nonsense, I ask you to leave. I have many things to do. Toshinori, feeling very frustrated, not being able to do anything but clench his fists to the point that they were about to bleed. In that case, I'll leave, heading to the door. Nizu, one last thing. Stopping Toshinori before opening the door, I let the incident of how you interrupted Aizawa's exam go, but I want to make something very clear. Lowering the documents to look him straight in the eyes, I do not intend to tolerate any display of favoritism on the part of teachers to any student. After all, the image of the academy is one of the things that must be maintained. Toshinori, leaving the office without saying a word. And with those last words, All Might stopped remembering and proceeded to take the exam normally. The teams gave their best, some more than others, like Shuko and Ochako's team. The only one who had to do something was Shuko, since she almost completely froze the building, trapping the villain team. Everyone was impressed by her power, especially Bakugo, who was now more determined than ever to humiliate Izuku and show him that he was the only option for her. Another who was not indifferent to such a display of power was Momo, who felt slightly sad seeing how Izuku also got excited by Shuko's power, making her decide that she would train even harder. And so the minutes passed where everyone gave their best to be the winners in the exam, and meanwhile Izuku could only get more nervous watching how slowly and inevitably his turn came, which came much earlier than planned, and with the spirits and Shuko and Ochako he went to the building where his fight would take place. UA Academy Test Ground B, Practice Building, present. Izuku, walking nervously through the halls. Momo, Midoriya-kun, you have to calm down, noticing his friend's condition. Izuku, I know, but… Momo, stopping him for a second to look him straight in the eyes, listen, I don't know everything you had to go through in high school and with Bakuga taking him by the hand, nor am I going to pressure you to tell me everything, but stopping upon hearing screams in the distance. Bakuga, where the hell are you, piece of trash? Creating explosions just to make more noise. If you really had the balls to face me directly, you would not hide like a damn coward. Exploding some walls to make the whole floor shake a little. Come out now, to prove that you are a damn loser, and you will continue to be that all your pathetic life, regardless of the actuality that you now have an insignificant quirk. Creating explosions constantly. Izuku, I getting nervous hearing the explosions, remembering the worst days in high school. I about to lower his head, but Momo stops him. Momo, I won't let you do it. Speaking louder than she wanted, being heard by Bakuga, you are not a loser, and no matter what an idiot like Bakuga says about you, he doesn't know you in the least. He will never be able to understand how much you have tried to get here. Putting her hand on Izuku's heart, now you can use your quirk, it's true. But that's not what made you special from the beginning. Even with everything against you, your will did not allow you to give up, and as an unbreakable desire you continued your path, following the desire of your heart, pursuing the desire to be a hero no matter what obstacles there are along the way, smiling just like the hero that I like so much since I read his story when I was just a little girl. Izuku, Argonaut, feeling great emotion inside because of how his friend supports him so much, without realizing that the Alpha was activating very slightly. Yao Momo smiling at him, thanks. Momo, you remind me a lot of him, widening her smile. That's why I'm sure that one day you'll be like no, shaking her head for a second, you'll be much better than Argo. Izuku, feeling an extra sensation in his head that only told him danger, be careful. Launching himself towards Momo, knocking her to the floor, falling on top of her only for a second later, the entire place where they were to be completely destroyed by an explosion. Observation room. Uraraka, looking at the monitors, a little blushing like everyone else. How did you know that explosion was going to hit them? Impressed. Kaminari, what does that matter? Didn't you see how he took advantage of that moment to throw himself on top of Yaoyorozu's breasts? Mineta, he's a bucking genius. Both of them being licked away by Tsuyu. Shuko, Midoriya worried about her friend, trying not to think about that fall. Almight, impressed. Izuku, do you know Bakuga so well that you knew the moment he would attack? Building. Izuku, are you okay, Yamamoto? Getting up quickly, seeing a cloud of dust. Momo, why yes, a little blushing at what happened. Midoriya-kun, how did you know that attack was coming? Izuku, confused, I don't know, touching his head, not being able to feel that sensation again. Bakuga, so you dodged it? Speaking through the cloud of dust, putting them on guard. I'm not surprised. After all, hiding and running after others is all coming out into plain sight, scaring some of the observation room because of how intimidating he looked. DKU. Izuku, damn, this is bad. That explosion was much stronger than usual. Looking at Bakuga's suit, it must be those grenades on his arms that help him concentrate his explosions, increasing their power, thinking of a strategy. Bakuga, you won't dodge me again. Launching himself towards Izuku with his explosions, avoiding Momo being noticed by Izuku. Izuku, activating the Ofa on his right foot to move back several meters. Yamamoto, come forward. Momo, but… not wanting to leave him alone. Izuku, I'll be fine. Dodging an explosion, if he's here it means only Ida is taking care of the bomb. Bakuga, angry, damn it, stop dodging me. Throwing a punch with his right arm. Izuku, now, grabbing Bakuga by the arm and throwing him to the ground, causing him pain. Yamamoto, go. Looking at her with a smile full of confidence, you're right. I've worked hard to be here. That's why turning his back watching Bakugo slowly get up, I'll have confidence in myself. Activating the Ofa for the first time in both of his hands at the same time, and putting himself on guard, and I will win. Running towards Bakugo. Bakugo, don't think it's a big deal. Launching himself towards Izuku using his explosions Deku. Momo could only watch in amazement as Izuku, despite not being able to control all of his power, managed to avoid receiving any explosions, and even though he wasn't feeling that strange sensation again, he didn't need it. He knew Bakugo's attacks so well that all he had to do was hit his arms at the right moment for the explosion to be directed somewhere else. At that, Momo had no more doubts and left the place to go towards the bomb guarded by Ida, and in a last look before crossing a corridor she could see Izuku's back and could only smile since she knew and without a shred of doubt in her heart that the boy she had known for several months would achieve victory. Observation room. Almight, happy seeing his successor, he is already managing to better control the Ofa. Seeing Momo on the monitors just to look at Shuko for a second, young ladies, you don't know how grateful I am to you. It is thanks to your friendship and support that Izuku is making such incredible progress with his quirk. Kirishima, that green-haired boy is amazing. Watching the monitors with the others, even though he said he couldn't control his quirk well, he's giving this aggressive guy a hard time, punching several times in the air. Mina, right. Excitedly supporting her friend, the way he dodges the attacks is very good. But looking at Shuko, aren't you worried that he might get hurt? Those explosions seem very dangerous, not receiving a response. Shuko, without looking away from the monkey where Izuku appeared, those explosions could leave scars like the ones Midoriya has, tying up the ends, deducing that it was Bakugo who caused them. That jerk is identical to the damn old man, frowning, how unpleasant. Building upper area. Ida, that idiot listening to the explosions, well, at least he can be useful for something and teach Midoriya a lesson, irritated. Momo, stealthily arriving at the room where the bomb was. Midoriya-kun hasn't done anything to you, idiot. Activating his quirk, creating a flash grenade. I shouldn't think about that now. I should take advantage of the fact that he's distracted to incapacitate him and win. Throwing the grenade and then covering his eyes. Ida, watching the grenade fall next to his feet, but what? And with that, the grenade had exploded, illuminating the entire room. And without delaying a single second, Momo came out of his hiding place running towards Ida with the intention of capturing him. Unfortunately, and to his surprise and that of everyone in the observation room, Ida immediately threw a strong potato directly towards Momo, which upon impact was sent back several meters. Momo how? Holding back the pain in the area of the blow. Ida, haha, you're a stupid. Yaoyorozu taking off the top of his helmet for a second. My helmet is designed to avoid these surprises. The only thing you managed to do was reveal your location, smiling arrogantly, being noticed by the expression in his eyes. Nothing you do will be able to stop me. And in this place your parents are not there to protect you, and not even the useless Midoriya will be able to help you, ha ha ha. Momo, pathetic. Ida, angry, what did you say? Momo, didn't you hear me? Is that helmet so tight that it doesn't let you hear when they talk to you? The way you talk, the way it bothers you, Midoriya-kun, knowing that I consider him my best friend. Getting on guard, tell me, are you still angry because I rejected you as a possible candidate to be my fiancé? Impressing everyone in the observation room by that revelation and making Ida angrier being expressed by his eyes. Ida, don't think it's a big deal. Yaoyorozu putting his helmet back on right now. Me and my family are aiming for something much more beneficial for us. Shield Industries, getting ready to run, get ready. Running towards her to attack her. Building several floors below. Bakugo, why? Totally angry, very tired and with numb arms. Why can't I give you a damn punch? Izuku, tired, gasping for air. We're not in high school anymore, Bakugo. Getting on guard again. The days when I was afraid of you are over. Activating the Ofa in his hands again. Bakugo, raising his arm, pointing one of his grenades. If that's the case, I'll kill you like the damn rat you are. Taking off the safety. That released a gigantic explosion that illuminated all the cameras, preventing anyone in the observation room from seeing anything. The entire building shook due to the event. Many of the windows broke and the explosion even managed to damage part of the external facade of the building next door. Once the smoke cleared and the damage was seen by everyone in the observation room, they had different reactions. fear because of how strong that quirk was, concern for their partner receiving such an attack, but above all, fear on the part of two people for the boy's safety. Observation room. Shuko, All Might, stop this. Very worried, feeling her heart beating very hard, check if he's okay. All Might, Izuku, clenching his fists, very worried. Look, noticing how Izuku came out of the rubble with only a few small burns, he seems to be fine, rejoicing him as well as Shuko for seeing that he did not suffer much damage. He is fine, but I still want to stop this, but the director's words, undecided what to do. Kirishima, worried and a little angry, that blonde guy is a complete madman. How does he dare to use that? Clearly outraged, even though he has a strong quirk. That quirkless boy from that villain incident months ago was much more incredible. Catching everyone's attention, especially All Might. Uraraka, I remember. Excited, remembering that moment, it was incredible how she jumped into danger without caring about the consequences. It's a shame they covered her face. I would have liked to see what she looks like. All Might, huh? That moment you jumped into danger and followed your ideals no matter what others were against, smiling. Seeing Izuku on the screen. If you were in my situation, I'm sure you would never have considered the director's words. Izuku, I still have a lot to learn from you. After all, a good teacher is not only the one who teaches his student, but the one who also learns from his own student. Building several floors below. Izuku, that was dangerous, coming out from under some rubble. If I hadn't used the OFA on my feet and jumped at the last moment, that explosion would have hit me directly. Remembering what Shuko called him before, maybe Todoroki-san is right, and with this suit and jumping like that I look like a rabbit. Bakugo, damn you! Losing his mind, seeing how his strongest attack didn't have any effect. You're just a cockroach that must die. Attacking again. And with that shout their battle began again. But this time it was different for everyone. Bakugo, being so desperate for victory, attacked without any coordination. It was his mere fighting instincts that made Izuku's prediction no longer have any effect. Izuku, for his part, noticing that his memories of what his rival's fighting style was like were no longer relevant, opted for a new strategy. Activating the one for all again, but on his feet he began to jump on the walls from one side to the other. At that sight, Shuko could only be happy not only to see her friend well, but also, and just as she told her at that moment, he looked like nothing more than a rabbit jumping from one side to the other. And finally there was All Might, he following his own ideals as his successor, decided that he does not care what the director says. And if Izuku is in danger again, he will not mind showing favoritism to help only him if necessary. Izuku, Yamamoto! Screaming with all his might, noticing how Bakugo was about to use his other glove to launch another gigantic explosion. If you hear me, get ready. Jumping higher above Bakugo to make him launch explosions at the ceiling. Hold on to something, and when you see the moment, win. Building upper area. Ida, how stupid, standing several meters away from a Momo with several wounds. Does he really think he can beat Bakugo? Speaking in an arrogant tone, even though he can use his quirk now, it is useless. He will not achieve anything if he cannot control it. We have spent our whole lives learning to use them with pride. And he looking at Momo with a smile. What's so funny? Momo, I just found it funny that you confuse something as noble as pride with something as unpleasant as arrogance, creating several ribbons and suction cups. Although I do admit something. It has taken him much less time than us to learn to use his quirk, remembering all the training they did in his mansion, but it is for that very reason that he has worked harder than anyone else to equal and surpass us. Showing great determination while clinging to a column, and with true pride I can say that I was one of the first people who believed in him. At that very moment, but several floors below, Bakugo was already so desperate that he didn't care about anything other than absolute victory, and leaving all traces of common sense aside, he had his hand on the trigger of his other grenade ready to release the second big explosion. At that, Izuku knew that the moment had come, and taking great leaps he reached the roof. Everyone was surprised, including himself, by how quickly he arrived. It was as if he almost weighed nothing. Unfortunately, he didn't have time to think about it because that explosion had been released. Immediately, using all the strength in his legs, he moved away from that attack, which continued straight without stopping, destroying floor by floor until it reached where Momo and Ida were located. Since he was not holding on to anything, he lost his balance and fell to the ground. A moment that Momo did not waste in any way, and in a quick movement created some tasers which he threw at an unsuspecting Ida, who could only scream in pain from receiving the shock. Everyone in the observation room was impressed and with great joy celebrated the exact moment when Momo touched the bomb, giving the team of heroes the victory, which All Might immediately announced, ending the fight. Unfortunately, someone did not take it well at all and was about to commit a stupidity. Observation room. Kirishima, look! Worried, watching as Bakugo raised his hand again to Izuku, who had his back turned. He's going to keep attacking. Shuko, bastard, about to run out and freeze that bastard if he hurt Izuku. Uraraka, all unable to finish her sentence when her master was no longer there and only left a giant hole in the wall. Building several floors below. Izuku, WE1, panting from how tired he was, deactivating the OFA we did at Yamamo, looking at the gap to the upper floors without realizing the danger. Bakugo, my own explosion, trembling with anger, he was reading my movements like a bucking open book, and I, seeing his right hand clenching it very tightly, even when he was serious, aiming at Izuku's back with his grenade, I lost against Deku, pulling the trigger. This is not possible. Everyone immediately became worried when they saw that explosion come out again towards an Izuku who was not prepared to receive it. Fortunately, before a tragedy occurred, a large hole in the nearest wall was created and a silhouette positioned itself in front of that attack to receive it head-on. When the cloud of smoke cleared and Bakugo believed that he had finally gotten rid of that stone in his path, he came face to face with reality. And it was that in front of him was All Might again, being the listener of an Izuku who was very surprised that Bakugo dared so much as to attack him from behind once the exercise was over. All Might, very angry, how did you dare to do something like that? Bakugo, but... All Might, silence. Holding Bakugo's hands, attack a teammate from behind? Critically damage the structure where in real life there could be hostages. No hero with the slightest common sense would do that. Squeezing a little harder, it goes without saying, but you failed this exercise completely in each and every point. Starting to drag him, we will also put this in your stories. Bakugo, TCH, lowering his head, unable to do anything but receive the scolding. All Might, young Midoriya, stopping before leaving, tell everyone else that class is over and they can go now. Those who feel a little bad can go, with Recovery Girl leaving the place. Observation room, a few minutes later. Momo, Midoriya-kun entering the room with Izuku. Are you sure you're okay? Izuku, I've told you many times, with a small drop of sweat running down his forehead. I'm fine. Yamamo, noticing how everyone was looking at them. What's wrong? All, I'm afraid, quickly approaching him, but someone beat them to it. Shuko, Midoriya, shamelessly invading his personal space. Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Very worried about her friend. Those explosions, didn't they hurt you more? Unconsciously touching Izuku's abdomen, right where he has the scars that he once showed her. Izuku, noticing how worried she was. Todoroki-san, understanding what they meant, just a smile, forgetting how close they were. I'm fine. Those explosions will never hurt me again. Shuko, smiling sweetly. I'm glad. Momo, ahem, not liking what he saw. Todoroki-san, could you get away from Midoriya-kun? With a sweet tone that conveyed another emotion. He is very nervous, so you are making him uncomfortable. Shuko, that's not for you to decide, looking at her defiantly. Besides, I don't see why I couldn't get closer to him after all you said it. You two are just friends, causing a clash of glances before the frightened looks of all the men and the excitement of the girls. Mina, that's it, girl, defend yours, writing down quickly in her little notebook. Now I know who to support in this war. After that awkward moment which was left behind when Izuku, in an attempt to calm the situation, decided to formally introduce himself to all his classmates, who followed his example, getting along surprisingly well with some. Although of course there was no shortage of perverts who looked at him with great envy for his luck of having the two most beautiful girls always by his side. And with that the day was over for all the students, where after taking Bakugo to detention so that Aizawa could make him do an extensive essay reflecting on his actions, he went back to the principal's office. But unlike yesterday, he entered immediately. UA Academy principal's office. Tashinori, director, we need to talk. Bursting into the office. Nizu, I assumed you would come, leaving some papers on the desk. What happens now? Tashinori, don't act innocent with me. Only you could have changed the team's results in the battle test. Nizu, indeed, it was me smiling slightly. After all, I warned you that I would not allow favoritism within my academy. Getting serious, so if you expect an apology from me, you won't get it. Reviewing the exam recordings, what you did was clearly a violation of the established rules. Staring at him, if you continue to show favoritism towards your successor, I will have no choice but to expel him with a threatening tone. Tashinori, staying silent for a few seconds, making the director think he won, only to start laughing. Ha ha ha, confusing Nizu. Director Nizu, you may be one of the smartest, but you would be a real fool if you thought I would believe that lie. Nizu, squeezing his paws, what are you talking about? Tashinori, you said it yourself. The image of the academy is one of the things that must be maintained. Seeing that Nizu only remained silent, I graduated from this academy. Endeavor, who would take my place as a symbol of peace after my retirement, also graduated here. Nizu, where are you going with this? Tashinori, that you would expel everyone before Izuku, noticing a small tick in Nizu. After all, he is my successor, and the future symbol of peace, walking towards the door ready to leave, and the prestige that the UA would receive for having graduated 3 generations of heroes who reached the number 1 position is something that you will not let pass. Opening the door and leaving the office while giving him some last words, and that is why you will not prevent me from focusing more than anything on Izuku's training, even if that causes discussion with the other teachers. Closing the door slowly just so it can be heard. Have a good afternoon. Nizu, completely alone. Well played, Almight.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.